A night in with Mauler and the drinker, getting trashed with the web's free thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop up the cork, have a glass of wine, but still say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the critical drinker.
All right, well, I believe that's our cue to begin, Mauler.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, hello, everyone. Well, welcome to Open Bar 142. Are you pumped tonight, Mauler? Are you getting ready for this?
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Because there's two TV shows we're talking about, and they're polar opposites. So
They really are, yeah. With a few trailers mixed in as well, which again seem like they're going to be polar opposites if we're talking about Superman and Ironheart. But we'll get to that.
It does get really fucking weird where you turn up and you're like, what's tonight? And it's like a buffet of rotting and interesting food. You're like, what are they touching? Don't let them touch it.
It's interesting, at least. You know, it would be terrible if like it was nothing but bad things that we had to talk about. And maybe if it was all good, it would be a little bit boring as well, because there's only so much gushing you can do over stuff. So now we can rage and gush simultaneously. So, you know, a rage gush.
Variety sure is the spice of life, as they say.
It is indeed, yeah. Should we continue our tradition? Shall I hit you with some knowledge about the appropriate year for this open bar?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, in this case, it's going to be 1942. So here you go. Here's some stuff. Silly putty was created in 1942. That was when it was first invented. That's it. That's all I've got. That's like all my facts for the year.
Well,
that's it. Like, well done, 1942.
Yeah.
Here's some stuff. The US life expectancy for men was 64.7 years, and for women, it was 67.9.
Wow.
Mostly because men do a lot of retarded stuff that gets them killed earlier. So, you know, women tend to live longer. But there you go. Time Magazine's Man of the Year. Can you take a guess at this one?
Obviously, it would have been Jesus, I think.
It wasn't Jesus, unfortunately. It was Joseph Stalin.
That makes sense.
Gosh, did you boys back the wrong horse on that one? Wow. In that year, also, the first nuclear reactor was developed, heralding the start of the Manhattan Project. It was invented by Enrico Fermi. And who first posited the ability to harness nuclear power for doing more than just blowing up stuff. You could actually turn it into electricity, which turned out to be quite good, actually. Also, superglue was invented. Harry Coover apparently invented it. He was trying to make plastic gun sights for weapons and accidentally made this super strong glue that he patented and turned it into superglue, which is weird but random and quite cool. One of the most famous people in America at the time, weirdly, was Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a Soviet sniper, with 309 confirmed kills. She was actually one of the deadliest snipers of World War II. She toured the US to try and gain support for opening a second front in Europe. And weirdly, the most popular question she was asked was, did she like to wear makeup on the front lines? Reporters of the day clearly asking the hard-hitting questions that I'm sure they needed to ask. But yeah, in terms of famous people who were born in 1942, Harrison Ford, he was born in 42. Muhammad Ali, Stephen Hawking, Martin Scorsese, and Billy Connolly. To this day, one of the best comedians that's ever lived, as far as I'm concerned.
Did you watch the last documentary he made?
Yes. Yeah. Obviously, you can tell that he's... You know, he's slowing down a bit at this point, but man, he's got a damn good attitude in the face of all this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's just what a great personality. You know, like at his prime, hilarious and energetic as hell.
Yeah, and you just like he gives the impression of a guy who just loves life. You know, and he just constantly finds wonder in everything, and he finds just something to laugh about in every situation. And I just think, God damn, that is such a good attitude to have. I love it. And yeah, also with movies. So movies, big films that came out in 1942. Bambi, apparently. Casablanca, Woman of the Year, Random Harvest, never heard of that. Holiday Inn, which made famous by Bing Crosby singing the White Christmas from that. And what was the other one? Road to Morocco. Yeah, some of the biggest movies of the year. So there you go. Well done, 1942. You did some stuff.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done, 1942. Anyway, let's bring some people in so we can talk about stuff that's happening right here and now.
All right, then. Let's do it.
All right. Wow. Welcome to the bar, everyone. Ryan Kinel, Snarky Jay, and Erin Underwood. Hello, my panel.
Hello. I was getting a little worried. I was getting worried when you started talking about, who's the Time Man of the Year in 1942. I thought it was going to have something to do with a Kanye song. Quite...
I think he did get Man of the Year in like 1936 or something.
Didn't he? I think he did.
I think he did, yeah. Well done, Time. You really know how to pick them.
You win some, you lose some, you never know.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, he was definitely famous at the time, Joseph Stalin. I mean, sure, can't argue with that. I'm not sure what the criteria was. Yeah, he achieved things.
He did achieve things. That's true.
He was prolific. He was.
He was, yeah. Have any of you guys seen Death of Stalin?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fun one. So underrated.
Fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah. Is it Jason Isaacs that plays Zukov? Yes. He has got truly the best entry of any character ever, when he just throws the cape off in slow motion and he's got all the medals. Yeah, dude's amazing. But yeah, anyway, well, here we are. And this week has brought an end to Andor. Season 2 of Andor is now finished, and it now dovetails quite nicely with Rogue One. And I don't know how you guys want to do this, but whether you want to just talk specifically about the latest block of episodes that came out, or just the show as a whole. But I mean, I'll maybe just throw it open to you guys and see what you think of it.
Well, who wants to go first?
Well, Mauler, I know you just despise this show and everything about it. I know you're a big fan of what Dave Filoni typically does in the Star Wars universe. So I wonder, I'm sure you hated the ending, right?
It was frustrating having so many characters. I don't see the point of this anymore. Like, can we give up on... I'd rather see some... I mean, ultimately, like, Dave Filoni is a master worker. Where was Hayden Christensen? I don't understand.
I wanted to see a cameo from Palpatine. I wanted to see Darth Maul make a comeback. And
where was Ahsoka the whole time? What was even the point if she wasn't?
That was a blunder. They didn't even have Ahsoka in this show.
Yeah,
nice guys.
Yeah, they were all in the Force adjacent world, playing around
with the space whales.
Ahsoka's fucking around in the world between worlds right now, so that she can come back and be part of the story later. Yeah. I think that obviously arc 7 through 9 that got a lot of talk and a lot of discussion, especially episode 8, and what they did. I feel like a little bit starting off this one, and we're gonna talk spoilers, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I won't necessarily try to go too in depth, I guess, but kick off with the Luthen episode, and I think a lot of us expected a Luthen episode, and it very quickly became a Clea episode, which I think was good. I wish we could have got a little more of Luthen, maybe as he's imprisoned, maybe as people are trying to question him, like before we get this, what we knew eventually had to happen to Luthen happened to him. You knew he wasn't going to make it. This is actually, I think, one of the arcs that I feel suffers a little bit from this 1-year time jump between what we saw at the end to where they are now, especially when you get on and everybody, Yavin hates Luthen and nobody trusts him and like all of these things, when I feel like I get maybe not trusting him to a certain extent, but it seemed like they really just despised him and wanted nothing to do with him when he was so instrumental in making it all happen, which I guess maybe if I had a little more in that in-between year and they said he's gone off the rails, he's gotten so wild, he stayed there longer. We didn't get to see that, which I felt was a little bit of a missed opportunity. And then, I think it ended exactly the way I thought it would end, Mauler, when we were talking on EFAP the other day, with Bix staring off with a little baby on the wheat planet.
So, I mean, for me, I just wanted more of all of this, and I'm perpetually mad, not at the creators, really. I'm more mad at different elements that caused the fact that this was such a truncated season, not only with the time skips, but just take, for example, like by the time you hit the end of that first episode, I was like, man, we've got nothing for basically all other characters yet, and we're running out of time. But the thing is, I actually thought episode 10 was fantastic, all the choices they made. So, like, if I was to try and break it down, the fact that we come in on, it seems to me like it is actually rushing because they somewhat have to, right? Like, Lonnie's got his big breakthrough, but he did it because he knew that like the grip was closing on the Empire. That
it did sort of happen off screen though, where like if they'd had an extra season or more time,
I would have fucking loved seeing all of it unravel, but they decided to pick what they considered to be the most important things to show us, right? And watching Dedra turn up to the gallery, there was a difficult problem to solve here for writing, and I think they did a fantastic job of how do we get a confrontation while simultaneously Luthen doesn't get infinitely tortured and all the information falls out of him. It's like, so how do we do that? And it's like, well, the trigger of the information is found by Lonnie, and pieces of, I love the way he describes what we know to be the Death Star. It sounds so terrifying to these guys because they have no idea. They don't even know Planet Killer doesn't come up until Rogue One. So all they know is it's a huge weapon, it's a huge project, and that it's been kept secret for a really long time. And they've got to get it out. And I love that it's down literally to whispers from one person to another person to another person at one point. If one of them dies, it's all over for the rebellion. Like they don't get that information out. But yeah, Luthen nuking his network connector, telling Claire to get out because he knows he's probably going to be the most at risk, right? And then him and Dedra's confrontation. Oh, I fucking love the dialogue.
I would have liked more.
That was so good.
It's great when she asks him if there's any fakes in this art gallery, and he's like, "Well, there's 2 items that are of improprietary
questionable
here.
provenance."
Yeah, questionable provenance. That's it. I just thought that was a great way of phrasing it. It's weird though that she turns her back on him multiple times, and I just thought, damn, it wouldn't be that difficult for him to just pull out a blaster and go at it,
I don't think she thought he would do it. I think
right.
she thought she had the upper hand still, and
What's
he
worth remembering,
clearly had her figured out.
She thinks that he is completely caught off guard. That he has no idea that she's figured it all out. Hence, like, I got the impression from the scene, subtext-wise, like he says the tension mounts as to whether or not these items are of the pure providence, and I got the impression that the scene itself was making the point as to Dedra and Luthen's sort of like, are they coming through on their characteristics, everything that they've set themselves up for, right? So Dedra's is that she was going to find Axis no matter what. She was going to come through in all of her talents and research, and she was going to capture him, which she does, and in character, she does it bullheadedly with a need to prove herself, which is what gets her fucked over. Luthen, on the other hand, having made his speech in season 1 about how he is going to burn everything in favor of this sacrifice for the rebellion, his test was, has he got the balls to actually kill himself? Because that's his last test now, and he does come through. It's and then I think what caught her off guard so hard was the sabotaging. She never entertained that he'd have time to do that.
Yeah.
Of course, what she doesn't know is about the Lonnie leak. So
she could have just all those people are standing by outside. She easily could have just done the raid, but she wanted.
And that's what she should have done.
Yeah.
She should have just had that. She had it all planned out. She's like one of the smartest people in the ISB because she can see facts and notes and moments and connect them together in ways that nobody else is doing. But she has this sense that she has to do it all herself. And because of that, she sets herself up to be undermined and misunderstood more times than not. And it ends up screwing her in the end because I don't know if it's because it's the way the Empire system is operating, but she literally can't trust anyone else with information to do what she needs to do. So she just does it herself.
Which
and
was
it's just the wrong
disappointed.
It's an allegory. Yeah, I mean, it's an allegory for the Soviet system, the Soviet way of doing things, where everyone is held accountable for everything that happens. And so everyone's like, there's always a scapegoat for anything that goes wrong. And everyone is constantly maneuvering to try and make sure they're not that scapegoat. And so you see the same thing happens to the
Partagaz.
Partagaz.
Yeah, when his raid goes wrong, and like because he's diverted resources every which way, like there's no one around to back his troops up, and then he has to answer for it. Which I think, I knew when the moment he wanted to be left alone with his thoughts, it's like he's going to pull out a blaster here for sure.
Dude, the fact that Legret knew that, and he was like,
yeah,
just
because
let it happen.
the stormtroopers are like, they hear the blast and they want to go in. And he's just like, no, just wait a minute.
Give the man a moment.
Great symbol
Yeah, I
of,
mean,
like, sorry.
No, carry on.
That I was just gonna say that I think both of those things are such a great testament to like what the Empire really is, because you consider that these are people that rule and subjugate, and they rule and subjugate on the subject of fear. Like they're never, we want to impose order, but we want you to actively be afraid of us. It's not that we want to rule because you respect. We want you to be scared.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you look at people like Dedra and Partagaz, because Dedra, I think, felt she had a chip on her shoulder and something to prove the entire time, and that's why she wanted to be the one to do XYZ, and she ends up screwing herself in the end, because had she not gone into that shop and confronted Luthen directly, like you said, they could have just taken him out, and arrested him and gotten all the information, but she chose to have that moment. She needed to have that, and you look at a character like her, and you look at Partagaz, who didn't operate in the same way, but she's crying in that prison at the end, and he puts not a bullet, because there's no bullets, but he shoots himself to avoid facing their own people. Like, if you had to get arrested by a group of your friends and you thought your friends were good people, you might be like, well, maybe they'll help me out or they'll treat me fairly. No, they're willing to kill themselves to avoid facing their own acquaintances, because it's such a toxic, manipulative, and cruel operating system that I think it just paints such a perfect picture of
Or
the
was
Empire.
he afraid of facing Vader? Because
that too. If that was my boss, I think I'd kill myself too.
Yeah, I think it's the shame and the humiliation of being put on trial, having your rank stripped, and probably ending up in a prison as well. He's probably decided, no, it's not worth it. I would rather just take my own life and go out on my own terms. But I love his final scene where he's listening to the recording of like the Resistance Manifesto.
Linux Manifesto,
and he just gives that beautiful line of like, it just keeps spreading. It's like he knows right now, like they're losing, they're going to lose. It's going to take a long time, but like eventually this is going to spread through the whole galaxy, and they can't stop it with all their power and resources.
His introduction, he akins the ISB to like the immune system of the Empire. Like they have to seek out diseases and destroy them well before they can have consequence. And he's like lamenting, how is it possible that this fucking disease just couldn't be stopped? He even refers to Claire as a diseased person. That's how they can like identify or get her captured as soon as possible. He's still got that like healthcare sort of mode to him, and he's basically just listening to this manifesto thinking, who the hell even was this? How did this start, and why did it spread so hard and we couldn't stop it, to the point where it's killed me now? Like this is the end of my life essentially. And it's so interesting because he's listening to it. I don't know if he fully understands the words, but the words explain his basic complaints. They're all about how brittle authority is, how the Empire's control is so unnatural. That's why it's so desperate to maintain its grip.
Well, every character in this show has their beliefs challenged, and they either get strengthened as a result of that, in the case of guys like Cassian, or they collapse in the case of people like Partagaz and Dedra. And isn't that interesting? It shows the underlying weakness of whatever they've dedicated their lives to. That realization right at the end of, we were wrong. We fought so hard for this whole thing, believing that it was right, believing that it was immutable, and now we know we're going to lose. Ultimately, we're fighting for a lost cause.
And that the ISB stuff, and just in general the Empire, I think that's what was done the best kind of throughout. Not only showing the effect it has on normal everyday people and what people are under, the oppressive boot, but also the people that are employees there, and the type of lives they're having, that constant living in fear, that constant desperate need to be the one that gets recognition, to be not the last one out who's going to be punished for something. And it goes to show why it could never last the way it was, because of the inherent structure and the problems. And that's why they're so frantic to keep Death Star project quieted for Krennic to get it done, because they know eventually that it can't hold, and they'll just need to keep people in power by being able to the threat of blowing up your planet.
I thought it was a particular interest as well to have that, because it's like Drinker, you kind of alluded to it already, but the way heads are rolling, it starts like properly with Dedra in a sense for like, who can we blame for all of this disaster? Which, to be fair, she's desperate to get approval and like accolades within the ISB. She's kind of the reason it's getting dismantled at this point. It's completely fucking corrupted and ruined, and all the way through. I love the part where he's just like, how did you know about all this shit? And she's just like, some data was sent to me accidentally. It's like, yeah.
Well, it just goes to show, like, they did not have anything in place to look at this data, to crawl through and that might actually be one of the flaws in the Empire, if not in the series, when it comes to how it treats its technology. It had all of the technology in the world that it could easily have been crawling through this data to piece things together, to figure this out so much more quickly. And the fact that they completely undermine her and overlook her, and she doesn't feel like she can be like, hey guys, I've got the answer right here. We need to go do this right now together. It really is a brittle system. It was broken from the start.
The flaw of their organization is the people who are most ideologically committed to the Empire and what it represents, like Cyril and Dedra, as you say. They're the ones who a lot of the time are overlooked, or they're just used as tools or whatever, and they're not really given the recognition and the opportunities that they probably deserve, because they're the people who are most actually, committed to actually achieving the aims. A lot of the other people who do better within this organization are just opportunists. Like, they want the accolades, and they want to shift blame whenever things go wrong. So they're the most politically minded. And I love that scene in the wake of Luthen's death, when like Dedra's replacement, I can't remember the character's name, but he's like, make a note on the official record that this security detail was approved by Supervisor Mira. Like, just like everything has to get pinned on her. Just like, let's really hammer that home. So none of this is my fault, and then we can move on. And it's like exactly how these people do things.
Why was Luthen so bad at killing himself? Can we talk about that? Like,
why did he just go for the wrist? Like,
what?
Or just like shove it through his fucking head or something.
Just put it in your throat, slice your throat, jam. Like, this is Luthen. This is somebody who's committed, right? This is Luthen. It was just like he just plunges into his stomach and kind of goes down.
It's
obviously
real.
I mean, medical technology in this world, I guess, is like way more advanced. So even like a fatal wound for us, like, is something that they can probably treat.
Yeah, like a lightsaber.
Like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
A lightsaber, yeah.
Yeah, but why didn't you have like a poison tooth? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like he should. I feel like he should have had like a bomb set up in that entire shop, like a remote triggered device or whatever. So like, if we're burned and the whole thing goes south, I just press a button, the whole place just gets incinerated immediately, rather than having to manually go back and pour acid over shit. And
I think a bomb would have been cooler, but
he did, but like, he didn't really destroy the equipment. Like, they were able to salvage enough of it to like track down.
Well, he was
Andor.
interrupted, right? That's how close it came. It was down to the wire for.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, there's probably quicker ways to destroy a place like that, and just not have to go there physically yourself and slowly and methodically destroy everything.
I'm with you. I think I would have expected them to have had a system that would just annihilate all of it.
A thermal detonator, exactly.
Cool.
it could have been something cool, like a voice activated bomb, so that if he realized he was caught in person in the space, he could just say a word, a trigger word.
He could have said, "I have friends everywhere," and the whole thing would blow up.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, that's also the password. Damn.
I thought him using a blade though was kind of cool, like, because the way that I looked at it, like, okay, yeah, he did kind of a shitty job of killing himself. If he was gonna do that, he should have gone for the wrist or the throat, not the stomach, and then eventually like halfway survived. But I thought it was kind of symbolic, because we look at it like Luthen was literally an extremist from the beginning, right? His first act of rebellion is literally a bombing on Naboo. This guy's been nuts from the start. He's been unorthodox and a problem to the rebellion, because at the end of the day, if you're a rebellion built on ideals, you don't want one guy committing bombings and atrocities and making you all look like terrorists. You might build to that point of destroying a Death Star, which to the Empire is terrorism, but if you're trying to reason at first, a guy that comes in as an interrupter like that is going to fuck up the whole thing. But what I thought was interesting is that Luthen, realistically, the last time he was in combat, realistically, was for the Empire. Everything else that he's done is like set a bomb, walk away. I sent this guy to go do this, and he's working on Coruscant. The last blood on his hands is his own. And that's the last act of violence that he commits with his own hands is against himself. Like, I don't know. I thought it was like oddly poetic, and I thought it worked for an ending for him.
It's beautiful symmetry.
It is, yeah.
What I kind of like as well is that, again, throughout the show, like, it takes the un-Hollywood approach, because like when you've got a character like him, you assume that when it is time for him to die, there'll be some grand speech, or there'll be some big heroic gesture before he goes out. And really there isn't. Like, he gets rumbled in the midst of destroying his radio equipment and stuff, tries to kill himself, fails, gets taken away to a hospital, and Clea has to come in and kill him, and they don't even get to talk to each other. He's still unconscious when she does it.
Remarkable restraint that they did.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, a different show would have had him wake up and say, like, oh, you have to do it. Like, this is what I signed up for. There's no need for that. We understand all of that from her character, from all their interactions up to this point, how committed they are, and it's fine to just do it. And real life isn't poetic like that. Real life isn't dramatic like that. It's much more mundane, and it's much more low level. And I think that's kind of one of the defining features, weirdly, of this final block of 3 episodes. There isn't some big climactic battle that really caps off the whole show, the whole season. It's really just smaller character moments, like what happens to Luthen, what's going to happen to Partagaz, what's going to happen to Dedra, and then ultimately setting up Rogue One. And it's again, it doesn't follow the typical Hollywood pattern of like everything has to have this big dramatic climax. It's much more restrained than that, and I think it works on its own terms.
Well, to follow up on that, just the fact that it's almost anti-Hollywood also in how Tony Gilroy put all this together. Like, you can tell that he did not bring his ego into that room. He did not bring all of those regular tools that all the other writers in the Disney IP projects bring into the Star Wars writing rooms with them. You could tell he literally looked at Rogue One. He looked at Star Wars: A New Hope. He looked at the prequel series and what needed to happen there. And he reverse engineered that entire story to figure out, what do I have to do? What story beats are the most essential things that we have to accomplish here? And how do we do it? And I think the fact that he only had 2 seasons, you could tell he took his time in the first season. And when he was only given 1 more season, I think he probably was expecting more than 2 seasons. But then he had to figure out how to jam all those story points into 1 more season. And the fact that he found a way to do it without sacrificing the original story, which is the Rogue One story or Star Wars, and still managed to tie those threads together throughout and make it look all intentional. Like, it looks like this whole thing was planned out from the start, the way he wrote it and produced it. It was just really well done.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting. Sorry.
I'm just gonna say, like, we had heard there's originally 5-season plan, and who knows what parts of that made it into this season. But from a financial standpoint, it's almost shocking that they justified this 2nd season. Because I don't really care what Parrot Analytics, tries to say about this. When you spend $750 million on, 2 seasons of something like this, you need a mind-shaking, like earth-shattering type of ratings to justify something like that. That's one of the most expensive projects, period, we've ever seen in history. And it doesn't do that. And there might be a lot of people saying very nice things about it, but from a viewership standpoint, it's not bringing people in. And I think they had the opportunity in season 2, and it's why I think the first 3 episodes were such a misstep to start off that way.
100%.
Because I think they had a lot of potential at the end of season 1 with good word of mouth from people, and maybe people taking a chance and tuning in to season 2, and it started off the way it did. But yeah, that's a lot of freaking money to spend on anything.
This
And it's a
is,
lot
I
of money
guess,
that doesn't sell toys at the end of the day. Because I mean, sure, everything from the Acolyte ended up getting ripped off the Disney website, but it's like, yeah, cool. The Diego Luna action figure is now out. Like all these guys that die at the end. It's not something that's like this massive marketing win.
I didn't know,
It's
Snarky. They
liked
could
by
have a Dead
critics.
Rebels toy
You're
program.
right. I bought a pile of dust, and it was my destroyed Death Star, and I love it.
Yeah,
It does-
an imprisoned Dedra Mira toy line.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
She's
that
in a
was so
snow globe.
satisfying,
If you
though.
shake it, there's like little Death Star flakes around her.
That's
I did-
perfect.
Mo, I think you were saying how satisfying her.
I
sort
was
of conclusion
extremely happy with that ending, especially considering she's got the exact same fate as her parents, and it's a complete result of the exact thing that gave her a chance to have a great career, destroyed her whole life. That same sort of
And that-
interest. His scene with
Mhm.
Krennic was fucking great.
Oh
He
yeah,
was,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
That was a really good
you
one.
know, I think he gets to be way more intimidating in this show than he was in Rogue One, even.
Yes.
He gets a
And-
little more time. you know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I love Ben Mendelsohn as an actor. I think he does great work, and it's always great to watch a pro at work and
Well,
stuff like
so-
this.
Watching them heads roll all the way up to Partagaz, and then you move into Rogue One, where Krennic is the one at the bottom of the rung, and Tarkin
Yeah.
gets to fuck with him like he's been fucking with everyone in the ISB. It's so interesting to watch it all go up the chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the nature of the Empire, isn't it? And it's great because this show, and it's so interesting. If this show had come out before Rogue One, it would have been fascinating to then go into that movie because it does such a great job of building up the significance of the Death Star. Everything feels so much more meaningful. There's so much more gravitas to everything because by the time you get to like the sequel trilogy, now you're at the stage of like, oh yeah, we got a fucking planet that can just fly around and eat suns and then crap out like fucking laser beams that destroy entire solar systems. How did it get built? Don't fucking know. Who cares? Just like enjoy the empty spectacle of this, you retards. Like, but here it's like, no, it actually builds this up. Like they took decades to build this Death Star. It's this huge security risk. Like Krennic is genuinely shitting himself at the prospect that people might discover this before it's ready. That's how significant it is. And so if you went then into Rogue One and then go into like A New Hope after that, how amazing that is, that transition. We don't get
I
that.
would be a
now.
little more invested in the character of Cassian Andor as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I think he benefits a lot in Rogue One from this show to the
Mhm.
point where it's almost a little bit lopsided in a funny way. It's like if you watch Andor first and then you watch Rogue One, you'd be like, why is Jin? Who the fuck is Jin? Like, why
Yeah,
why
this
is
show-
Andor the side character now?
Is that the Kathleen Kennedy curse where it's like, well, we need to have obviously a British white female self-insert for me leading this movie, whereas
She's not
really
British.
it's not her story. Sorry, yeah. The
Just
actress
white
is,
in
though.
general. Yeah, no need for her to be British. Any
Yeah.
white woman will do for Kathleen Kennedy standing.
Yeah. But
Um,
the point being though, like it's it's not her story really. And
No.
yeah, you could do a lot more with Andor in a story like that, but
what did you guys
we
think
got the
of?
movie we did.
I guess the ending, right, when Cassian brings them there and gets this news to them. And this is one of the things I said. I think that this arc, it's disappointing that you have this 1 year time jump, because I have a very hard time believing that people would be as skeptical as they seem about this information that's coming forward, especially with everything so many of these characters have been through. And I didn't like how they turned Bail Organa into the main person that was like super dismissive of all this. I don't really know why they did. And obviously,
Andor-
I thought it was.
Yeah,
I didn't buy it.
Cassian doesn't really have a reputation for being like making wild claims and like just completely like going off on like conspiracy theories and stuff. Like he's very grounded, and so when he says something like this, you should take it seriously because this is
I didn't get that
very
impression.
much his
This is
character.
coming from Luthen, which none of them trust. Which I actually kind of disagree with Ryan on this. I thought that they did an excellent job in the season of building up all the different characters losing their faith in Luthen. It was something I noticed
Mhm.
without realizing where they were going with it. He has so many scenes with all of his connections where all of them are gradually losing connection with him. They don't like him anymore. They don't trust him anymore.
But he always delivers, though. So what is their reason
No, he
for not
doesn't,
trusting
though.
But he
him?
burns them out. He
doesn't always
uses them
deliver.
and burns them out. And
Go
the
ahead, yeah.
rebellion doesn't want to be burned out. Like, that's one of the things. They realize that this might be true, it might not be true, but can they risk it, whether it's true or not? And I think that's the crux of what that Bail Organa was trying to get to, is we're not ready. I think they were all in some weird way saying, we're not ready for this. This is too dangerous for us. We can't withstand that. We can't investigate it.
But well, there's the thing. It's not like Cassian's like, this is happening. We have to go here right now and launch an attack right now and go there to get them. Like, that's not what he's saying. He's just like bringing them information. They're like, well, that's retarded. And I get that there's a lot of distrust, and reasonably so, when it does come to him. But also at the same time, with everything they've been through, with where they're at on Yavin, and whether they like what Luthen's doing or how reckless he's being, the idea that they would be so dismissive of this super important information that just came, I had a hard time buying it, based on what they presented to us. Like I said, I think if you give me the year between or something to describe why, oh, well, ever since a year, it just so happens that ever since a year ago, he's been wild and he did all these things and we shouldn't trust what he says, then okay. But I don't get it from just one line of dialogue that says, like he's been reckless. He stayed there too long.
We benefit from knowing the Death Star is real, and we watch many stories that relate to it. These characters, it sounds like an insane concept. It's like they built.
Does it though?
Yeah, a moon-sized space station that shoots lasers to destroy planets.
That's not what they're saying at all.
They're not told that. All they're told is like they've been working
that,
on a secret weapon. That's all we know.
Yeah,
and that doesn't seem implausible for a galactic empire like that's got fleets of star destroyers, like God knows what else. They're clearly willing to do whatever it takes to maintain their grip on power. I think it would make sense that they would build some kind of super weapon that could keep planets.
Super weapon, yeah, that's fair.
I think it's just one of those things of like, how much worse do you think it can get, right? They have events like Gorman and these massacres and genocides that the Empire's been committing, and then you get news from an extremist who, again, I think they basically spent 2 seasons building that this guy was off the rails and these people don't trust him. I mean, Mon Mothma's last words that we see to him are that she's afraid of him. She literally tells him, like, I'm more afraid of you than anything else right now. And she's kind of like almost the head of the rebellion at this point. So to me, it makes sense that they wouldn't 100% believe something that comes from this guy who's willing to like blow people up and this kind of shit. But I think, the whole thing here is like, you kind of wonder how much worse can the Empire get? They're willing to come in here and light people on fire. They're willing to destroy people. They're willing to commit genocide. How much worse can they get? So they come and tell you they have a super weapon that they're building. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, are you like, what do you mean there's a super weapon now? They are a weapon. I think there's a lot of different factors that play into it, but I think that that's one of them of like, how much worse, what more do these people need to abuse the rest of this galaxy? It sounds implausible. That's how I think they probably saw it.
Well, and I think that his relationship with Saul Guerrera was also part of the reason they slowly stopped trusting him, is because Saul, and we saw that big fight with Saul, that he's actually in some ways undermining the rebellion. And we know that Luthen is still working with Saul. So they see them in the same camp, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, Saw is just like this crazy drug addict, It's like completely lost his mind. Yeah,
exactly. Paint, blowing shit up.
Because I don't know if anyone else did. I watched Rogue One again after finishing Andor to see how it fits in.
I did too.
Because I was mixing them up. The Death Star sequence with the Council is in Rogue One, where they, so somewhat locked in that they distrust the situation anyway. So I guess they were trying to give like somewhat a foundation. But I mean, I appreciate the references, as in like, you haven't talked to him in forever. We all think he's like kind of psychotic when it comes to his humanity. He's got a history of being the most extreme out of all of them. He's on the fringes. He may have his connections, but nobody has any idea what they are. There's no verification. There's no accountability. It's all just done through him, which I really enjoyed, by the way, like that we watched throughout Andor. Luthen is the almost inception of the rebellion in terms of networking at first. And it simply is him connecting to individuals across the galaxy. until the Yavin base is, established, getting bigger and bigger, and he just keeps shrinking over the course of time, losing all of his connections as assassins, and then the trust of people like Mon or even Cassian leaving Luthen and joining Yavin in general until he's dead. And it's I really appreciated Andor's sort of speech to be like, he should not be forgotten and he should be respected. Like, he's the reason that all of us are here.
And I love that Willman kept that box under his bunk. Like, he didn't fully disconnect from Luthen. He still believed in what Luthen had done or was still doing. And if he hadn't had that box, nobody would have known.
Maybe
Nothing.
it's
like-
because he had been huffing paint with Saw Gerrera.
It's such a funny thing, like, that they have to maintain in this this show, and they actually do a pretty good job of it, of like marrying the kind of 1970s sci-fi technology that you had with the OT with obviously the modern hyper realistic grounded sort of technology that's like much more contemporary, and somehow making it work. So you've got these like radio units that they have to plug together, and it's all very like analog switches, and it's all very clunky. It is gear porn, for lack of a better word. This show gives you gear porn, which I've badly missed in Star Wars, so it's very nice to see it back.
There's some really great lines too, like because on the Luthen stuff, there's a whole galaxy waiting to disgust you. The you can deliver to
that was
her.
gold.
Well,
I even like the where we've pretty much ran out of perfect. What he says to Leia about the way they set up their meetings. What a contrast to meeting in open public with Lonnie, and then discussing basically the most sensitive data they've ever received on a staircase.
On a bench.
That's him. Yeah,
going
that's how desperate he's getting. It's like, I know we're pretty much done here. I just need to try and get this last thing before it's over.
And I do think him killing Lonnie that's like perfect, right?
Yeah,
It's so Luthen.
After everything that Lonnie's done and how many times he's come in clutch, like over and over and over again, and it's like, that's the end for you, Lonnie.
Well, what sucks is it's super pragmatic, and it's absolutely in his character to do it, because like it'll probably mean his family is safe if he's dead. And it'll probably mean there's no efforts to have to do anything for Lonnie. Don't need to worry about getting him out or protecting him forever, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I could just totally see Luthen being like, dude, I'm probably
He's
going to
also a loose end, though. I mean, if you consider the fact this guy's getting desperate, and he's like, I mean, this is the first time we see Lonnie speaking where he feels like he's literally unraveling in front of Luthen.
Yeah.
And he's like, something needs to be done about my family. Like, there's all this shit going on. To me, that seemed like this is the kind of guy that could be a loose cannon and could pull the trigger on some other stuff. He had to go. I mean, it's fucked up, but it's very Luthen to go ahead and wrap up that loose end.
That poor actor, like, he's just got a thing for dying tragic deaths, because like the other major role he played was in Chernobyl, where he's one of the reactor operators there, and he just like dies this horrible death from radiation poisoning.
Oh, poor Lonnie.
It's like, Jesus Christ. Bad luck,
Because
son.
what do you think about Kay? Like, as the droid, I thought he did a really good job.
I love him so much.
I love him so
too,
much. He's like, I cleared a path. Let's go.
Yeah. I just, there's something I've never been able to rationalize with Star Wars, and guys can help me out with this one, right? Like, do droids have consciousness?
You
And if
don't
so,
have the
like,
answer to that question. Star Wars is never going to answer that question.
I know, but it's just like, why does he have a personality when he's like a battle droid? He's literally, he exists.
Glitch in his
he just-
reprogramming. That's the excuse. It's like,
No,
that's
reprogramming.
reprogramming.
But like, they
So-
blew him up for the first time after reassembling it, and he's like, hello,
He's like,
are you going to shoot me?
Put the gun
Like,
down.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you've got a personality now. Do you have a soul? Are you aware of your own existence? Are we like putting you through some horrible torment here by making you follow our orders? I don't know.
It's funny because there is some stories where that you get into like droid rights and things like that in the Star Wars expanded
Solo.
universe and these different movements. However, in general, most people wipe their droids' memories very often and very consistently. And if you don't, they can develop kind of like these personalities from all the things they've experienced and all the people that they interact with over time, which is why
This
you
is some
see
Westworld level shit right here, man. It's arguably horrific.
which is why you see droids like R2 and C3PO that
Right.
do have more personalities because they go much longer times between any of those wipes. And like Luke, like Luke often gets criticized for, not wiping R2's memory. Like
Yeah, he loves his droids.
astromechs.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because there's people that'll convince him to wipe their droid's memory, but because R2 does this, it gives him some quirks, gives him some personality, but it also lets him become more efficient and understand what Luke wants and what Luke needs at any given moment and stuff like that. So it's up to each individual owner, but that is one of the things, at least I don't know what this fucking Disney canon shit is, so I don't care. But that's one of the things that used to be addressed in Star Wars.
There's arguably this kind of element of existential horror where like these droids are just starting to develop self-awareness, like they're just starting to become like actual life forms, and then boom, fucking wiped.
Well, I mean, how
That's
often do
not
you
for
wipe
you.
your own browser history,
The cache is gone.
Browser history
I don't know what the
becomes
droid sees when it's home alone. It has to be erased.
Yeah, Star Wars.
It's like
just
straight
doesn't
out
seem
Blade
like-
Runner, like I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
I mean, that's a good reference. Like, it's not an IP that seems to be too concerned with having that conversation of sci-fi. It's like,
No,
we
this
do
is a
another
Star Trek
thing.
kind of like, yeah. This
Yeah.
Yeah, which it's up to future creators within the IP if they want to actually address it. But it probably is a better idea not to at this point. So definitely not the
Don't
kind
give
of
them
new one
any
that you would
ideas.
expect,
They'll
but-
make droid rights the next movie or something.
Well,
We
they
can't
did
have
that
that.
fucking insufferable Phoebe Waller Bridge droid
that's
from
exactly
Solo.
what
Yeah.
you don't
I
want.
completely forgot that was a thing.
Oh, yeah, everyone did
Mhm.
because we mind wiped ourselves. Like, we
That's
just
true.
had to.
My
to survive.
browser history got cleared. I got mind wiped after Solo.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what's weird about that is that droid's mind is still in
The Millennium
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, they
Ugh.
really
God.
want. They were proud of that one. Let me ask you a
Gross.
question actually before we end our coverage of Andor. Right, I want to put a question to the whole panel. Like, so how do we rationalize this? Is Andor Star Wars? Because
my
this is
God.
the
Here we
question
go.
that's haunting. It's going to haunt this fucking show forever, right? And it's like I kind of want to get people's takes on it because I don't think there is an easy answer to this. I think it is quite a complex issue, but I want to
think
know
it
what you guys
depends.
think.
I think it depends on how pressed you want to be about Star Wars. My whole thing is like, is Star Wars a setting or a genre? And
Yes.
personally, I think Star Wars is more successful if we consider it a setting, because there are so many, like if you consider how many planets are on Star Wars that we know, are in Star Wars rather, that we know of, and there's so much possibility to write all kinds of stuff. Like I felt
Yeah.
that The Mandalorian, for instance, would have been cool had it gone in the direction after they got rid of the little fucking baby green guy that's back. Had they done it almost like a Western, like a bounty hunting Western, that's a genre that could be applied to the setting. Had they done Skeleton Crew, for instance, as the kids genre within the Star Wars setting, had they made the Book of Boba Fett like The Sopranos or Goodfellas or something like that, right? Like a crime, that kind of thing would have been cool. That's a setting, that's a genre within the setting. I think it's almost a crime, in my opinion, to auto limit Star Wars to it has to be this fantasy thing. If we look in the lore of like Legends and the extended universe, there is so much more to be
Right.
told out there than just the themes and the feel of the original trilogy. We love the feel of Star Wars. We love the looks of Star Wars. And I think it's easy to maintain that. Does Andor go a little bit beyond what we're used to? Absolutely. I've already heard the bitching and complaining about bricks and screws and glasses. I don't want to hear about it anymore. It's really not that big a fucking deal. Let's grow up. But the point is that, I think Andor, it all depends on how you want to look at it. But in my opinion, Andor is Star Wars if you're open to letting Star Wars be other things.
I think
I
if you're
spied a
open
poll,
to
by
letting
the way.
it grow up a bit, like let it grow up and let it breathe, like
Yeah.
a fine bottle of wine, there's all
Open it
kinds
up.
of bottles of wine. Open it up, take a sip, see if it's for you. If not,
Now
move
you're
on.
talking my language, Aaron.
Yeah.
It
So
is open bar.
Yeah.
as somebody who's read a lot of different Star Wars stories, right? Over 100 novels, hundreds of comic books, experienced it throughout these video games and stuff like that. To me, I've read horror Star Wars. I've read a little bit more mature Star Wars. I've read Star Wars that isn't focused on the Force and is focused on a starfighter squadron, right? I think in this perfect world, this is we would have loved for Disney to go out there and create, yes, a spiritual successor to the same way we feel about the movies. But also for there to be plenty of room and probably for lower budgets because you're not going to have the same audience for a little bit darker, a little bit more grounded stories. I think there's room for little kitty shit in there if you do it the right way. Like there should be, in theory, all of that stuff. Now, I think the question for a lot of people is, say the Disney purchase never happens and George Lucas is, behind the production of this thing and Andor comes out. I think they would say that they consider that Star Wars. I think there's going to be a lot of people that just because it's Disney say it's not. And look, what Disney has done to the franchise is irreversible and unforgivable with as much stuff as we've got. I think Andor is the best thing they've put out, bar none. But there are going to be some people that, because of where it's leading, because of where it's going, won't consider it Star Wars, period, regardless of whether they like it or not.
Right.
So, but in principle, 1,000% you can have a story like this with themes like these for this audience. 100% that can exist in Star Wars. Some people may have never experienced it before, but these stories have been out there for a very long time. For people that have read the expanded universe, even when Star Wars wasn't releasing movies, like there are a ton of different opportunities to be explored. The problem is it isn't often done very well.
I mean, if we get to the nuts and bolts of this, it's I feel like the answer's real screws. The answer's real fucking obvious as far as I'm concerned. It's like we're dealing with Disney canon, like canon. It's all very much like the sequel trilogy. We talk about whether everyone's like, oh, would you decanonize it? Blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but we all treat it that way ultimately in our heads. Nobody actually, when thinking of the meaning of any of these characters' stories, actually considers the sequels. It's just like, no, that's garbage fan fiction written by insane people. Not even fan fiction, anti-fan fiction. But like take Andor. It's like, oh, all this crazy effort to try and maintain that late 70s look, this adherence to all of the mechanical elements that we've seen, the sound design, and then the attempt to bolster continuity that they're inevitably attached to. This creation of all of these characters, the avoiding of using classic characters that they could damage when they didn't need them for the story, which is what they've said again and again. It's like, how could I not consider this Star Wars? It's excellent content, and it doesn't damage anything for it to be a part of it. Yes, as Ryan's been over, it's like this is a very different experience, but of course, like that would never stop me from considering this a part of Star Wars canon. So we get to benefit from that. Surely, it's like a political thriller. It's and I'm totally with him on the whole like they maybe overstepped a bit with the fucking budget because I don't think this was ever going to be able to recoup that. But I guess it's cool that we got it, and I don't see how we benefit at all from saying this is absolutely not Star Wars and I will never consider it a part of the story. It's like I don't see why not. It only helps. It's really cool to think of all this backing, like all of these people who sacrificed themselves in all these big and small ways to allow our main characters that we love in the OT to do the job they needed to do. I think that's really meaningful.
Yeah.
And
I agree with Mahler. Yeah.
I think, ultimately, I would prefer to see Star Wars as like a big canvas that you can paint on, and you can paint on it in different ways. And as long as what you paint is of a high quality and it's done with like real artistic integrity and a desire to tell a good story that doesn't like completely contradict all the other things that have been painted on it, then I think there should be room for like different tones, different styles of storytelling. We talked obviously about the two extremes. Like at one end, you've got something like Skeleton Crew, right? Which is just a kiddies adventure story. It's the Goonies in space, but it feels like it's kind of in keeping with the Star Wars ethos. Not just because it's got recognizable iconography, but just it's the space adventure kind of thing. And like, it doesn't feel like it contradicts anything. It's just a fun little adventure, but it's very, very lightweight. It's obviously designed for a very young audience. Then at the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got Andor, which is very mature, very slow paced, very complex, very adult, right? Both of those things can exist within the Star Wars universe because they are perspectives on the same thing. And I think as long as they're done of a good quality, and the intent behind it is to tell a good story within the Star Wars universe, I think they can both work. So for me, yeah, I absolutely consider this to be Star Wars. It's a different perspective on Star Wars, but it doesn't mean that, you know, your perfect 1977 vision of what Star Wars is allowed to be is invalidated by that. It's still intact. It's just we're seeing different views of the same thing, and I think that's okay. And I think to some extent, Star Wars does need to grow beyond just that. It needs to grow beyond just the OT that people obviously have got a lot of reverence for it, rightly so. But it can be more than just that. And I think it's important to keep an open mind about the ability to expand into new areas and new tones.
And what they have to do, and I've been saying this for years, what they have to do is they have to get beyond, because at some point in time, right, this is the reason that people do feel passionately when they make a decision or don't, or when they decide to change something that may have been there in pre-established lore, but then Disney shit on and said, no, that's not happening. Or even like the way that Andor met K2SO, a Disney comic that came out not that long ago. They did retcon that for this series. So what they need to do is to get away from these things that we knew happen in Star Wars and create quite literally their own shit. Now, we have original characters and stuff like this, but it's all centered around this timeline and this big moment in terms of the Death Star that we're all familiar with. They need to be able to have characters that stand on their own in timelines that are on their own, that have nothing to do with bringing up a random Luke Skywalker mention or OT nostalgia. Right. And they need to be able to stand on their own and create those types of stories. And I don't think they want to do that because they're too scared to do that, because they know that you have no crutch. You have nothing. You don't have nostalgia. Like, all you have is your skill and your writing, your ability to get people to care. And I
think that's exactly right. They are scared, but they've invested a lot of money in bad properties and bad stories and people who were not quite talented enough or knowledgeable enough to build some of these stories that we were willing to give a chance to. And they do need to just, it's not just Disney though. All the studios, they are scared and they are kind of defaulting to the lowest common denominator, the things that sell, the things that are easy, the things they think we want. And they've lost the art of storytelling. They've lost that energy to strike out into a new story and try something new in a new space, even if it's within that same setting. Like, I love the way that Jay set that up, Snarky Jay, when you said that it's a setting, not necessarily the genre. They need to strike out into these new spaces with new characters and new ideas, even if they do bring in occasionally a Jedi, or they find a lost TIE fighter somewhere, something comes up. But I just don't see them.
I mean, it's funny to hear these sorts of pieces of advice. It's like, I'm sure you're all aware, we're heading toward the complete opposite. A super incompetent writer filled with all of the most famous characters, just constantly writing them back in, with a built-in backdoor time-traveling, space-traveling nonsense mechanic. That means that we're fucked, like hyper fucked for Star Wars. Because ultimately, obviously, my fundamental.
That's the first time I've heard that. We're hyper fucked.
We need people who could write, who work for Lucasfilm. We're done with that. The guy who just came in and left is like, oh, that would have been neat, but okay.
Yeah. Isn't it so interesting that you've got like a guy like Tony Gilroy who's like essentially working with like the dregs in terms of like residual interest, like a show based around Andor, which is like a spin-off to a prequel spin-off with a character that like no one really cared about to begin with. Obviously crafted
still arguably the least interesting character, even after 2 seasons.
This should not have been called Andor. We were talking about this before we went live. This should have been called like Welcome to the Resistance or something. Like, it should have been like much more representative of it being an ensemble piece.
Like Rebellion, I guess, or something.
Sorry, Rebellion, yeah. But yeah, he did all that with a character that no one cared about and crafted this like excellent show that's incredibly well written, very well funded, like looks amazing, all of that stuff. Then you got some idiot like Dave Filoni who's given the keys to the kingdom in terms of like, you can bring in anyone. You've got, we bring back Hayden Christensen, we can bring back Ewan McGregor as like their characters, and he's an idiot. And so it's like, it's like you put like the worst possible person in a position of power within Star Wars. Like, what do you expect to happen? We're going to enter into the age of Star Wars slop. They will never do anything like Andor again. They will
You know,
never
if we
invest.
see a multiverse, I just might throw myself from the roof. You know what I mean?
They'll eventually bring time
Aaron, I
travel
will
into
join
it.
you in throwing yourself off the roof. I don't need a multiverse in Star Wars. They're already pulling that dumb shit with Marvel that's just gotten worse for 15 years now. Now this, like, why? What is even the
Mhm.
point?
They will have Ahsoka travel through the original trilogy, right, and like interact with like Luke and Han and Leia. They will CGI the shit out of them and put like skinwalker versions of them in because they can, because Dave Filoni's a moron as well. Like they will end up doing that stuff because they can, and that's all you're going to end up with: pure utter slop. But this was the one time where we had something that was a little bit more intelligent and a little bit more mature. And they will never invest that degree of money again. You know, this had to be seismic if it was going to shift Star Wars as a brand. It had to be a cultural event. And as popular as it is amongst its core fan base, and as much praise as we might heap on it, it's not going to move the needle one bit with Star Wars as an overall franchise.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing.
Well, that was depressing.
Yeah, well, anyway, now that we're all like on the verge of killing ourselves, how about we do a couple
Hey,
of super
welcome to
chats
my
before
world.
we
Yeah.
move on to the next thing. Let me see a couple of the biggies here. This is from Captain Jean-Luc Bacardi. I approve of your name, sir. Drinker, in light of the HBO controversy on your video, have you considered making a longer form essay style video that details why the show isn't misogynistic, but actually just really in terms of writing and worldview? I mean, that would involve like me watching even more of The Last of Us and thinking about it more than I already have. And that actually hurts my brain at this point because it's so fucking depressingly shit. So I'm not sure I want to make a long form video. And I feel like HBO they would be that degree of dicks. They would claim it again. And I would have to do the whole thing all over again. And I'm not sure I can be bothered doing that. But yeah, thank you for the advice anyway, man. Other one is from Logan Johnson. Sup, Drinker, Mauler, and Panel. How about that awesome Ironheart trailer, huh? Oh,
Oh, God.
don't worry, we'll get to that. My God, so horrible. I'm also glad that Andor ended well, being a part of Disney Star Wars and all. And to close off, got my birthday Saturday, and Doom the Dark Ages calls to me. Nice!
Happy
Actually got
early
that.
birthday.
Got that right here. I just got delivered, so I'm going to be playing that hopefully tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, looking forward to that. See the next one before we move on. Yeah, David Gannon. Hail panel. Critics meeting at the start with each section vying for its place in the grand scheme reminded me of the superb HBO movie Conspiracy about the Nazi final solution. The officers in that did the exact same thing. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Like Gilroy studied dictatorships. He studied how they worked. And he gave a really good flavor of how these things ultimately are self-sabotaging, which is pretty cool stuff. Jambug says 712 and watching Rogue One right after felt like a funeral for Star Wars. It's not likely to get as good for a very long time. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, we're doomed.
Yep.
It's going to be a while.
Andreas Nilsson, isn't it odd that us Star Wars fans who have been labeled sexist and racist for not liking certain other characters haven't had any problem with Clea or Bix? Could it be that this all has to do with good writing? I know it's crazy, right? It's crazy, but it's almost like if you write interesting, nuanced, multi-layered characters, people will respond well to them.
It's true.
Here, I thought we all just hated women.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
those
I can only
darn
speak for
women.
myself, obviously,
Well,
I do. So I was actually going to talk about Bix real quick because we didn't talk about it. Between the third arc and this final arc, obviously we don't get to see Bix till the very end. I feel like they were giving hints to us, you know, with the whole Force Healer card that they like pulled randomly over there on Yavin. That's handy to have there, Force Healer. But when Bix is saying like, I've had those same dreams about you, blah, blah, blah. I thought they were hinting that Bix is Force sensitive in a very subtle way. The ending we have with her, Cassian's kid on the fucking wheat planet, all of that stuff, I thought was a very, very cliche way to end the whole thing. But did you guys feel that's what they were hinting at with Bix at all? Because that's what I read into what they were doing. And I wish that she could just be a normal person.
I would have to rewatch it. I didn't get too much of a sense of her being force sensitive so much as like she's open to the possibility. Like she's interested in that sort of thing, but I didn't feel like she was necessarily herself. I could be wrong though.
I don't know that I give a fuck because it's like it's not going to be a part of this story. If it is used, it's going to be someone else fucking around with the Andor characters. Like what I took from, I mean, I don't know if anyone else noticed the last shot of Bix looked a lot like Andor's last shot in terms of composition and lighting. They do the color choices as well. Like the implication being, along with Clea, that Luthen and Andor's major sacrifices for the rebellion gave these two women a life that they could actually live with some peace. Like I took a lot of meaning from that. I thought it was pretty cool.
Here's a contrasting view here. Bix is human garbage. Jesus. She deceived and manipulated Andor, and he sacrificed his life because of it. In any other context, she would be viewed as a villain.
Well, so he's the reason why she'll be able to live free under, like, he's going to bring down the oppressive empire to give her a life, sort of thing. Same as I was going with Luthen. And I think that Dedra's supposed to act as a complete contrast. Cyril was actually a chance for her to be able to redeem herself, right? Like through him could have come through, but she doubles down between the arcs, and we see her as obsessive as ever.
Because I speculated with you, didn't I, when we did our last super chat catch up? Like, could Dedra turn against the Empire in light of what happened on Gorman? Because she was so shaken up by that and so emotionally traumatized. I thought, shit, like, is this like destroyed her faith in the Empire, and is she actually going to turn towards the rebellion? Obviously, she doesn't. Like, she goes completely the opposite direction. But it would have been interesting to see what that might have done with her.
Where she oversteps even more, and then the whole system she's desperately trying to achieve in crushes her, and she's now probably making components for the second Death Star in that prison.
But she's probably really good at it, though.
She's probably really good, yeah. She'll get Kino Loy's position real quick.
Yeah. She could probably swim as well, so maybe she can escape.
She definitely can swim.
She's jumping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this one as well. The rebel leaders are hesitant because they're terrified that Luthen would sacrifice Yavin just like Gorman. Even Mon was beginning to fear him. Bail is likely being cautious because if he gets burned, so might Luke and Leia, which is an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a year since any contact.
The last thing, because at one point it was brought up that like the last thing Mon says to Luthen is like, I'm more scared of you than I am of them, type of thing, which is true. However, the last real impression she has from what we see of Luthen is that he was telling her the truth, that Bail had an ISB agent on his staff, that they were going to try to kill her, and that he was sending someone there to rescue her, which was Cassian. So
someone that
is
she
the
could
last
trust.
thing we see.
They do recognize that in the scene, though. I really loved it where they mention, because Andor brings it up, and they give a shot to Bail where he kind of like looks down because he knows that
point taken.
He failed in that instance, but. They do have loads of lines about how much deceit there was surrounding Luthen, or because he wanted to be the ultimate decision maker to an extent, and he compartmentalized information. Yavin have a completely different mode of operation, right? Even to the point of you can't just leave. You have to make everything very clear. All the flight plan shit that K2 was making jokes about.
Well, I think like on Yavin as well, they've progressed beyond subterfuge and espionage to like an actual military operation. So like
I thought was deliberate because the big thing that a lot of people have taken away from Andor is that it shows like a dirtier rebellion. But like, they've progressed into the cleaner one that the OT has. I thought that was very strong.
And that's the whole thing about Tony Gilroy, like mapping it out. Like he had to get them from like basically what we saw in Solo with them just like screwing around, trying to get money, stealing things, to a proper rebellion. Like, and he did a good job of like that dirty rebellion transition to a proper rebellion on Yavin. So
yeah. Well, I mean, that was Andor. We will probably not see its like again. But hey, at least we've got The Last of Us to keep ourselves entertained.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Jay and I are going to go jump off the roof now.
Yeah,
I might join
Now's
you,
our
actually.
time.
Is there enough space up there?
Is there enough room?
Oh, for sure. The more the merrier.
Yeah, you know, Mahler, how I kept saying to you, like, well, there's only like a couple of episodes to go until the end of the
There's some
season.
long couple of episodes, are they?
It turns out, yeah, like a 45-minute episode can really feel like a couple of days if you go into it with the wrong mindset, and that's where I'm at with Last of Us. I mean, episode 5. What can I even say about it? Ellie and Dina talk and walk around a bit and spend some time
Oh.
together, and then there's a shootout in a hospital, and
It's
that's
so
basically
bad.
your show. How did it get to be this bad?
I'm
Like
not exactly sure anymore. Because the
season
dialogue
1 was
quality is fucking terrible. Everyone's stupid. Why? What? I gotta get to this quickly because it fucking bothers me to no end. They decided they were going to uproot the law, so to speak, and not have spores. Right? They made that decision in the adaptation of the TV show. We have now reintroduced spores, and I was just like, "What the fuck are you doing? That's going to
There's
completely change." And
special spores, though, they can only happen when like it's been infected, like an area has been infected for a long
yeah,
time.
since 03, they said. So it's like this comes as like a late stage thing with infected whatever. But what I realized is that they were adapting The Last of Us 2, and the payoff is, of course, that there's two girls who are in the spores, and one of them gets infected while watching the other one not. And it's like, 'cause it's Ellie, because she's immune. And I guess
Yeah.
they couldn't think of how to change the payoff, because you remember they transferred the payoff with Dina. You know, like Ellie's mask breaks in the game. That's how you know that she's immune. So it's like, oh shit. But in the show, she puts her arm in the way of a zombie going to be biting. And
Yeah.
so it's like,
Because
oh,
they
they
needed
tried
a much
changing
more
that.
obvious visual cue, obviously.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, well, they just gave up, so we got to get spores back in. It's just like, you idiots! Like, you should have done that from the beginning if you were going to do it this way. All that network zombie shit, it's all convenient writing whenever they need it. And then, of course, I just thought this was really pathetic. It's like, we need spores back, so here they are. Fuck it.
Well, it still doesn't make sense as well, right? Because imagine like you're an occupying army, right, a military force, and you've taken over a hospital building, and so like the first few floors are pretty safe, and then the basement is filled with fucking mutagenic spores that will kill you and infect you if you go down there.
So
the sensible thing you would think would be, let's just napalm this entire building, because like clearly we don't want to have people there. It's like, no. We'll just have everyone in, like, you know, treat patients and stuff in the upper levels and just don't go down to the basement because it's bad down there.
They had such a brilliant line for this, which was, we can't give up the hospital. We need it. It's like, take whatever you need in the hospital out
and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Infested. And by the way, I just can't believe this. If you're like a 20 years veteran of this whole, you know, world, you come into the hospital like, hey, you've killed some of your own men. Like, what's going on? And then they explain, oh, yeah, it's just basically there's an airborne fucking infection in our basement that we're hoping doesn't infect anyone. And she says, like, oh, did anyone get sick? And it's like, no, not yet. It's like, oh, well, okay. I was saying to Free, we watched, I was like, if this was told to me, I would be like, evacuation, immediate evacuation. Everyone get out, get out, get out, get out. Like, there's literally a zombie converting air in our basement that's just spreading. I was like, are you all fucking stupid? It's like, they treat it as though they understand it as perfectly as they do in the games, which is not possible. This is brand new. You have no idea what it does. And just this implication as well is like, oh, you know, it hasn't turned us yet, so
I have not
okay.
watched The Last of Us, the TV series, because I
don't.
I hate myself, but not that much.
I've watched you literally try to drink yourself to death, and you still weren't in bad enough position to watch The Last of Us. So yeah,
exactly.
I get you.
So is it because the hospital is this throwaway line? They're not implying anything about, well, like all the equipment and stuff that's there is impossible to move, anything like that. It's just
I'll tell you what's worse.
It's like some kind of strategic. Yeah, it's like, one, it's got stuff in it that they need, and two, it's like some kind of strategic, you know, part of their defensive line, isn't it?
I'm sure a hospital has countless useful stuff in it, but if you've got literal zombie invasion at the basement, I love, by the way, that they said there's only one way in and out. Why? All the stairwells have conveniently collapsed around the entire. I was just like, wait, you're in a building that you're treating as a HQ, where your upstairs is all collapsed. It's like,
also, like, I'm just gonna say, like, all these stairwells have collapsed as if the building is like on the verge of like going under, right? But then you see the whole rest of it, it's pristine, right? It's like no one's touched it in 20 years.
But this doesn't make sense structurally. Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not an engineer, but it seems like the hallways are actually designed structurally to be the strongest part of the building, so that as the thing is freaking collapsing, people can run down the thing and get out. Like,
Yeah, everything still works as well. Like the electricity still works, all the electrical systems are fine. Like, but you know, the stairwell's collapsed, I guess.
the
like,
stairs are
fucking
broken.
convenient,
Yeah, that makes
the
sense.
spooky, like there's one way in and out. Ooh, but yeah, I thought it was just really cringe. It was like, God, the way they wrote all of this is so perfect that like to get exactly the payoff they needed, which they're trying to adapt it from the game. It's a scene that a lot of people found shocking, and so they want to get all of it set up. But man, they just rush it there by telling us in 5 minutes, like this is our place that has exactly the circumstances required, and also
I feel like as well the show's been in like a holding pattern for the past couple of episodes as well. It's really just Ellie and Dina mooching around Seattle, just looking for a way in. That's
Isn't
all
that the
that's
whole
going on.
point,
There's
though?
nothing
Like, that's what we
interesting.
want to watch, you know, is just two
I
annoying
want to
people on a
watch.
tour.
I want to watch two really boring asshole teenagers just like swapping shit banter and shitty jokes, and
my
just
favorite
like riding
thing.
around.
And
I agree
fingering
with
each
The
other,
same
obviously.
and they're so fucking like they have the same personality, they have the same views on everything, and so every time like something happens, they kind of like swap a joke and then just look at each other like, "Heh, wasn't that funny?"
Hollywood
I want
just
to
writes
fucking
the
throw
same
up.
millennial asshole over and over and over again, and then
Yeah.
goes like just skins them with different people. So like, this is the Hispanic one, this is the white one, this is Bella Ramsey, and enjoy. You know,
And
like,
they
that's it.
fucked up with that's one of those ones where you're trying to scan your face for a game and you like move during it and you come out looking
You're
like
like,
fucked up. Like that's the most and that's why I can't watch this show, right? I can't buy into it. It's not believable. Not the fact that there's this zombie apocalypse, not that spores are doing all these things. It's the fact that there ain't no way a bombshell like Isabella Merced would be dating that fucking troll, even if she was gay. Like, that's the most unrealistic thing about the series.
It's unfortunate. Like I think the bigger problem though is like Bella Ramsey's acting range is it's enough to make Gal Gadot look like Leonardo DiCaprio. And I'm just gonna say it, right? Like the scene where she has to she's confronted that woman who's been infected by the spores like down in the basement, and you know, I need to see her like brimming with white hot rage. Like she is just, you know, she wants to kill this motherfucker because like she killed Joel, or she was like party to it, and like she's trying to hold that in check just long enough to get the information she needs. And like the game, to its credit, right, as horrible as it was, the motion capture, the voice actress and everything did an amazing job in that scene. Like I really got that from her. I didn't get a single ounce of that from Bella Ramsey there. It looked like a toddler that had been put into a situation and told, like, okay, act really angry, like you really want something from this person. And she's just, she can't do it. She can't deliver it.
I think that Bella Ramsey specifically, I think other child actors fall into this trap as well. But Bella Ramsey had some really early success in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And I think she's riding that success, and she's not honing her craft. She's not learning. She's not expanding. She's not exploring her own talents to make them into talents. And I haven't seen her grow as an actress in years. Like, this is the same actress that I saw in A Little Tiny Child in Game of Thrones. And if I were the director over the summer or whenever the break was where they all took a break, I'd been like, Bella girl, you gotta go to New York to the acting school and do some stuff. Go do that, and then you come back, and then we'll talk.
I think what they were hoping for with season 1, right? They had her, and like she looks super young in that, which is like, okay, fine, it kind of fits with Ellie as a character at that point. But then they need like the 5-year jump, and I guess there's like what, maybe 2-3 years between seasons of Last of Us. I think they assumed like, oh, she's gonna do who's the lassie that plays 11 from Stranger Things?
Millie
Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby
Yeah.
Brown. Yeah, I think they thought she was going to do that. It's like she'll like grow up really quickly as teenagers tend to do, and suddenly she's going to look 40 years old, just like Millie Bobby Brown does. Instead, it's like she still looks like a fucking 12-year-old, and like we're stuck with her, and we don't know what to do now. And I don't know, man.
It's not just that. Look,
I think part of it is the acting, though. No, I mean the writing. I'm sorry. Like I
I mean,
think
that doesn't
they
help,
write
yeah.
her like a 12-year-old. Like they don't let her do anything. I mean, I'm not saying that she's capable of doing more. And the last time I went to an acting class, Erin, was last week, and they made me crawl around the floor and meow like a fucking cat. So I don't know that I believe in
Sure, that was an
acting
acting class.
anymore.
Like,
I
Money
did.
well
I
spent
took
right there.
Or a video of
I
that,
took
Jay.
acting
How dare you.
classes and I regret it. But you know, I think that besides the fact that she does not look like an adult and her emoting is so bad. If you pause at any point, you know, there's never like rage. It's always just like, I'm not even gonna imitate it, but it reminds me of the Scream, the painting.
You don't
You
want
know,
somebody to
it's-
take a screenshot of you with making that face? Is that
No,
Oh, yeah,
I'm not gonna let people have that one.
so
But you know, it's awful. The writing doesn't help her.
she's a miscast, okay? Like
Yeah.
we know who Ellie is. We've seen Ellie in the games. We've seen a younger Ellie. We've seen a grown-up Ellie. Bella Ramsey is too ugly to play this role convincingly and has a weird face. That's just the reality. If they were going to do if they announced a Brad Pitt biopic, okay? So I'm being real. If they announced a Brad Pitt biopic and they tried to cast me, you know, people would be right to be like, that doesn't really make sense. You don't really look like Brad Pitt, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, you know what? Maybe hurt my feelings a little bit, but I understand it. Bella Ramsey, and I'm not even trying to be all that mean. I'm just saying, like, she belongs in a show like Game of Thrones, where it is kind of like, you know, maybe a little inbreeding going on, some weird stuff.
I honestly thought you were going to say a Victorian freak show or something.
Kind of.
glad
I'm
you
not
didn't
saying
quite
there's
go
not
there,
any
Ryan.
doubt for her, but this is a miscast. She is not Ellie, and it's like blatantly
Oh my
obvious.
God.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. Like it's fair to say like an actor has to physically inhabit the character that they're playing, right? And there's limits to what you can do with that, with the best acting skill in the world. Like Tropic Thunder obviously took it to its logical conclusion, where Robert Downey Jr.'s like literally like get transformed into a black man rather than just casting a black actor in that particular movie. That's where you can end up with this. And so an actor can only do so much. And if they don't physically resemble the character that they're playing, you probably need to find someone else. And I think this is a perfect example of it. But, you know, it's just the casting of Bella Ramsey as Ellie is just one small problem in a much bigger issue with this show, which is it's gone completely off the rails in terms of writing. It's actually done a worse job than the game did. You know, both in terms of performances and writing and like overall direction. And it just now feels like a meandering, pointless mess. I think anyone who's watching this who hadn't played the games and doesn't know where it's leading would probably just be thinking, what the fuck is even the point in this show? I don't even understand what I'm gearing towards anymore. It just feels like...
that's why I stopped watching. I've never played the game. I just started watching it because it looked interesting, and I am a zombie freak. I love zombie films. I love it. So I started watching the series. I actually, you know, it took me a while. I got into it. I liked some of the stories. By the end of the season, the lie that Joel gave bothered me, and he'd never kind of repaired that moment. But I'm like, okay, well, where are we going? You know, I expected it to take off from that moment. Instead, we jump 5 years into the future, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, that I wasn't expecting that, you know. And what I've seen in the episodes since, it's been very confusing to me as a non-game player, where they're going and why they're going. And you know, when it comes to Bella Ramsey, I gotta just respond to Ryan about her looks. Like, the makeup department can fix a lot of things. Like, they could have fixed some of those looks on her to make her a bit more fit for that character.
I don't know that they're fixing that one, though.
I don't know. There's only so much makeup in the world.
I'm not even saying this to be an asshole, right? But if we look at the fact, like, some
Yes,
people,
you are. Admit it.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Look, I hate being photographed without eyeliner because I don't feel like I'm a human being without like 6 feet of winged eyeliner. But like, you can't put eyeliner on her and make her look enhanced. She's in the apocalypse. Like, what are you gonna do? You can't put a ton of makeup on her because then it goes outside of the story. So like, just cast somebody else. They could have cast the chick that plays Abby. You know,
Right.
like that would have been great. And then cast somebody actually ripped to be Abby, this unrealistic body type that they defended so strongly for years, you know?
Yeah, I think Caitlin Dever is the one that people keep pointing to as like she should have been Ellie all along.
She looks just like her.
She's a good resemblance, and she's an excellent actress. Like, I think she's actually doing a really good job as Abby. Like, as much as I don't like Abby as a character, I think she's doing a great job portraying her and actually making her a lot more human and sympathetic.
We're not getting any Abby, I assume, now until the end of this season, and then season 3, right?
I think it's
They're making a
will be
third
an
season of this
Abby-centric one.
shit?
Which is quite a fucking
Yes.
decision to make.
Oh no.
It's kind of I don't know what nosedive has happened, because in season 1 they come across like one clicker, and you have Joel and Tess being these veteran survivors who treat it extremely seriously, to the point where it's like it is catastrophic that we've bumped into this and we have to be very careful. In this one, I was really struck by how you got the two of them just walking into random places, talking at basically normal volume about how there could be creatures anywhere and there could be soldiers anywhere. They encounter a stalker, very specifically see it. They know it basically uses stealth and that it can get to them whenever they want. They crouch and just start yelling at each other for like fucking 5 minutes about how they need to do. I was just like, get out, you fucking morons. Like, why are you... none of it makes me believe...
Wait, I didn't mean to bring that up. Sorry, I was trying to get rid of it.
None of it's viable anymore that they're actually...
You're going off the rails here.
I make it go away.
Trigger warning next time.
Sorry,
Jesus Christ.
I banned it from the studio.
That was a hate crime, Drinker.
I'm going to need a young priest and an old priest to banish that shit from this dimension.
You don't get the impression that they're trying to survive in this world at all. It feels like two people messing around on a TV show set. It doesn't feel in any way grounded. It's just fucking crap. Also, getting that Nora payoff is so funny. They go from these different set pieces in the game, like the forest with the bald people whistling and shit, and then it's just like, oh look, a door that leads directly into the set piece next cutscene. I was just like, what the fuck? What are the odds of this? And it's just like, yeah, well, we got to do it, and you know, TV show, we got limited time.
Wait, is Nora Slaphead?
She's she is the actress that's going to be the main character in that fucking new Naughty Dog game, the one with the awful name.
Yeah. I honestly like to speculate on how people have the time to get like nasal piercings and stuff in a post-apocalyptic world where people are just struggling to survive. It's so it's so fucking like 2025 fucking Southern Californian bullshit. Like, I hate it. I hate everything this represents.
There was mention of the whole like, can't be giving them loads of makeup in this environment. There are several characters wearing lots of makeup that distracts me every time I see it. I'm just like, you guys really taking care of that every morning when you're on the fucking road with limited resources. Okay?
I don't know, Mahler. They probably go out searching some of the houses, getting the makeup kits.
Holy shit, those reporters from 1942 are bang on the money. Like, do you wear makeup on the front lines when you're sniping at German soldiers? Like, they knew back then.
Absolutely.
Like,
gotta look you
damn. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just, are we going to make it to the end, or are me and you going to like slog our way through?
You're forcing me to do it. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. I'm almost looking for an out here. This is one of those situations where you want to break up with someone and like you don't have the balls to actually do it, so you just like be increasingly unreasonable and hope that they break up with you.
It's a tad excruciating, especially being like, you know, when they get arbitrarily and luckily saved by Jesse.
Yeah, that was lucky, wasn't it?
When he came in as a silhouette, I was like, it's got to be Jesse, because he's getting shot in like fucking 1 hour, basically, right through the head. It's like, this shit is so like awfully following the events of the game that it's simultaneous. Like, whenever they're on track, it's awful, and when they go off track, it's even worse. So I'm just like, this is just a complete disaster of an experience of watching a story unfold.
By the way, just for reference, like I did that poll on like, is Andor really Star Wars, right? So 5,000 people have voted on it, and currently it's sitting at 74% yes, 26% no.
There you go. Can't get more than that. The yeses have it.
That's a very official poll, by the way.
It is, yeah. So it's officially declared. It's better than a lot of like actual like opinion polls for elections and stuff. We got 5,000 people who voted in this shit.
Speaking of the dialogue, right? When they stumble across a bunch of bodies, and then Dina's like thrown up, and you have Ellie say, It's something like, "Oh my God, we shouldn't be here. You should go. We're having a baby. We shouldn't be here." I was just like, "What the fuck? Who wrote this? Like, why is
Yeah,
it?"
because again, like I actually hate that this show is making me praise the game.
Yeah,
Like, the
the
game
game is
handled
better.
it so much better. When Ellie finds out that when Ellie finds out that Dina is pregnant, right? She's angry because they're already committed to the mission, and she wants her to go back immediately. Like, she's angry that Dina even went along with this, and that makes sense because she's suddenly much more vulnerable. Her life means so much more. But in this, it's just like, I'm going to be a dad. That's awesome. And then it's not until like the next episode where she's like, nah, things look a bit dangerous here. Maybe you should turn back, eh?
That was
Like,
like
this is a shit way to handle it. Why are you making the character retarded?
Because the writers don't know how to write.
I'm just
Maybe?
calling it like it is, man. Don't hate me.
I really do feel like the
Hate this
writers,
show.
man. There's like a whole group of writers that never got enough editing in college and never got their hands slapped enough to like be like, that's not a good character. You need to develop that. Get back in the room. Do some more writing.
It's like the degree of retardation that they had in the game has somehow been amplified here because there's no checks and balances somehow. Like, the game somehow was better than this. It was a little bit more grounded. And I use that word very loosely, but like compared to this show, it was like fucking poetry. And I don't know how it's happened. I don't know how HBO lost control of this thing so badly. Oh, well. Yeah.
See you next week.
Yeah, I can't wait. Just before we move on, allow me to check in on Thunderbolts because I wanted to see how it was doing. So it's currently sitting at 277 million worldwide, right? And that's after what? 2 weekends?
2 weekends and 2 days.
Yeah. So as far as I understand, it's
Mhm.
tracking worse than the Eternals at this point. But hey, it's a major hit, apparently, according to all of the outlets that are definitely not paid to report on this stuff positively. Yeah, I'm just curious, like, where do you think this is going to end up? Because the one thing the movie's got in its favor is that it's relatively cheap. It was what, 200 million roughly that they'll admit to. So
I think it was
if
like
I've
180.
done my maths right, 200 million production budget, probably another 100 million for marketing. So that's 300 million. Roughly 50% of box office receipts are going to go back to the studio. So you're probably talking about 600 million break-even point. Is it going to get anywhere near that?
I really don't think so. I think that I do. One, I think it's a better movie than Captain America: Brave New World, and I think it'll have a better hold, and it already has over the first weekend. I think you'll continue to see it, slightly better hold than something like Brave New World over time. But you got to remember, even after 2 weekends, it's still $20 million behind Captain America: Brave New World. After 2 weekends, Brave New World was at around $290 million globally. This one was around 271. International numbers, it's very, very bad for them in comparison to what they usually expect. Like, it's tracking behind Shang-Chi and Eternals and stuff like, and Brave New World internationally as well. So I think it's going to end up somewhere in that 425-ish, 430, in that range, which you said they've reported $180 million. So you're looking between 560 and 600 for that break even. I don't think it's going to get anywhere close.
I mean, yeah, I've been seeing 190 million, but like the general rule with Marvel movies or Disney movies is like add 25% to the admitted production budget because that's usually what you end up with. Yeah, and that's from people that have worked on shit like this that have told me this, so I'm inclined to believe them. But either way, yeah, I don't think it's going to get close to the break-even point, and that's essentially 2 flops in a row for Marvel. So it's all going to hinge on Fantastic Four then, and I think at the moment, like, Superman is probably going to obliterate it. Like, the amount of enthusiasm around that movie is way in excess of Fantastic Four.
It's going to be very interesting to see. I do think that Superman, if I had to pick one over the other, I'd say Superman over Fantastic Four box office wise. I think Jurassic Park, the next universe, Rebirth, Reborn, whatever the fuck that movie's called.
Regurgitated.
Yeah, I think that's going to blow them both out of the water.
I think it probably will. Like, those movies have a track record of like over $1 billion each, so it'll probably do really well. I don't know if it's the same audience that it's going to cannibalize. Like, obviously, action movies with dinosaurs versus comic book movies, but I suppose it's probably going to be roughly the same group of people. Yeah, I think July is going to be kind of an interesting time because, yeah, man, like if, say, Fantastic Four does flop, that's 3 flops in a row for Marvel. Like, what the hell do they have then? It's all going to hinge on Avengers Doomsday.
Well, and it's really possible that I actually am looking forward to the Fantastic Four, just because I love the aesthetic of it. I love the art. I love the geometry of the shapes. I love that kind of stuff. But I think that they have to be really a lot more careful about what they put in their lineup, and when they're dealing with some of these it's not like they're less well known, but they're not like top tier brands within their universe. You can't just do like lower level, mid level and expect to do well. You have to like feather in those surefire successes. And anyone who thought that Captain America was going to be a surefire success was an idiot. And it could have done a lot better if they would have actually made a trailer that didn't give everything away. Like, there's just so much. It's like they have forgotten how to do business and they've forgotten how to write. And I don't know what's wrong. Like, they're all losing their mind in Hollywood right now.
Yeah, I think DC and Marvel are both kind of fucked right now. I mean, if I'm like really looking forward to July, because if you consider it, Superman is basically going to be the first movie, you know, after the DC reboot or whatever, where they gave James, who likes to make pedophilic tweets, Gunn, you know, the keys to the kingdom, which is funny, a decision that still baffles me to this day.
Yeah, funny how Hollywood likes to forget that when he spouts the correct political views, eh?
Right, yeah, you know, you can just talk about diddling children all you want, but as long as you have the right politics, you can come back. I think that's a really interesting standpoint that Hollywood has taken with that one. But, you know, if you consider it, like, Superman is, you know, arguably one of the most iconic, you know, comic book characters of all time. I think he's probably like tied with Batman and Spider-Man, for instance, from Marvel. And you've got those three, you know, as the icing on the cake. And so they're rebooting with not an origin, but a first outing for one of their biggest heroes, you know, and now coming after like Henry Cavill's Superman. And then, you know, Marvel is hitting July with Fantastic Four. I think if Fantastic Four flops and is the third flop for Marvel in a row, and Superman flops, we're really going to see these studios start to cancel a lot of these projects, or the budgets are really going to shrink. I think DC's entire slate pretty much is hanging in the balance, you know, based on whatever happens with Superman.
What did you guys think of the latest Superman trailer that came out? I only say because I'm showing it here.
I didn't like the way it starts.
The interview.
I didn't like the way it starts with the interview and, you know, her pressing him and him getting so defensive. Now, I have no problem with that conversation being a part of the movie. I think it makes a ton of sense for these things to happen and these conversations to happen around Superman. Who does he answer to? What happens when he saves a bunch of people in this building, but in the process, you know, knocks over this thing and people are waiting for their insurance claims and their business cannot, like, all these ridiculous reasons why people would be upset because Superman decided to save this person in that way and blah, blah, blah. I don't like the tone that it sets in the first minute of this trailer by him being coming off so defensive towards her. I think it would have, to me, I think it could have played a lot better if the introduction is instead what Jonathan Kent is saying to him. If you take that scene, and I think it's good, you know, it's your actions, the things you do, like that's what makes you who you are, blah, blah, blah. You put that in the beginning combined with a couple of these clips of him saving people. And that's our first hit when we see this trailer. Yeah. What's in Superman's mind, what he's thinking. And then towards the middle of it, you can maybe get into these things. Well, not everybody's okay with the way you do it. I think that would have come off better. I just didn't like the way it started.
You know, Ryan makes an excellent point. This is something I complain about quite often. The art of the trailer is lost. Like, a lot of these new trailers that are coming out don't understand the storytelling techniques for these little tiny snippets that are supposed to pique our interest about the film. Instead, they give away the film, or they present it in a way where you're like, why is Superman yelling at us right up front? This does not work out. Or, the art of the trailer has just kind of diminished to the point where it actually doesn't serve the purpose most of the time, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think
But
it's the endless drive to do something different, to find some new innovative way of getting this stuff across, because every studio wants to blaze a new trail. Everyone wants to be like doing the new cool thing that everyone's going to get talking about, because that's ultimately what you want from a trailer, is to get people talking about the movie. And so you end up with them, they experiment, they try different things, and sometimes it works, sometimes it absolutely doesn't. And I totally get what Ryan is saying about this interview starts the whole trailer on quite a negative beat. And it's interesting because ultimately it transitioned into something way more positive and hopeful and heroic. But it's like you already set the tone with this first minute or so of it.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily that palatable. From what I've understood about like what James Gunn has said about this movie, that public perception of Superman is going to be a major component of the film. The almost like the social media trolling against him because he does the wrong thing, or he has causes collateral damage, whatever it is. And a lot of people have speculated, like, well, is this just James Gunn like railing against the people that got him fired from Marvel back in the day? Not sure, but it's tough to
James
ignore that
Gunn loves
comparison.
his self inserts. I mean, look, and I know that people are going to be so mad at me. I just recorded a reaction for this and I said the same shit. Okay, I am the owner of a ratty ass dog. My dog looks like a hyena. He's terrible and I love him. When I think of Crypto, I think of like a big lab or something like that, like a heroic looking dog, because I watched Crypto the Super Dog, the cartoon, when I was a kid, and I had a certain idea of what this stupid dog should look like. And he found this ratty ass terrier that looks like a dog that he has right now. And I swear to you, you can look this up. James Gunn says that while he was writing either this movie or a different one, that he had to sit on the kitchen counter with his laptop because the dog wouldn't stop biting his ankles and it was making him miserable. And that's what Crypto's inspired by. You mean to tell me that we should trust a man who cannot train a dog to lead the Justice League? The precedent that this self-insert bullshit establishes is terrible. It basically sets up, like, to me, Clark Kent should be the goofy, clumsy one who basically covers for Superman, the heroic, stoic guy. And when they both blend into the same person, it makes the guy look like a super dork and reminds me of the line about him in Rapper's Delight about he looks like a sucker in a little red suit or whatever. Like, it's not doing it for me. I don't like this at all. And I hate James Gunn's sense of humor. This is gonna destroy it, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's like, if the way Superman's reacting to these questions and he's like yelling and screaming at Lois, I think it would be one way if he was frustrated with all this stuff building up and he's kind of venting to her, but that's not what's happening, right? It's like, it's his girlfriend who he knows is like, on his side, has his back, but is pressing him the way a journalist would. And he's kind of flying off the handle. And look, I've been known to fly off the handle a time or two, but I'm not fucking Superman, right? So it's just a strange way for them to introduce us to Superman.
Yeah. I mean, I get it in the movie, but not necessarily in the trailer. Like, in my day job, I actually work for a media outlet. I work for a magazine, a technology magazine. And the one thing that our reporters always say is, if we have a certain person in the room, we have to ask them the hard questions. Otherwise, it sacrifices our integrity. So I can see why Lois, she's got Superman in the room and she's asking him the hard questions. But for the love of God, don't put that at the start of the trailer. Like, let us see that in the film. Let us build up to that. Let us see how Superman is reacting to social media. I mean,
I think
it
as well,
can't be
like,
easy. And so how is that coming out in this character? And we see that right here in this picture. Good job.
yeah, I paused at just the right moment. Yeah, I think neither of them come across great in this interview segment
Mhm.
because Lois comes across like she's being unnecessarily aggressive towards him, like really trying to needle him about all this stuff. And he just comes across as a bit of a petulant child, like, well, I had to do the right thing, okay? And it's like, okay, you should be more knowledgeable than that. You should be better aware of like the implications of what you do by this point. And I don't know, it just like neither of them come across particularly likable.
No.
You've got this other weird stuff where he's like fighting a kaiju in the trailer. Like,
There's so many
what is
confusing
this
parts
movie?
to it.
Well,
Yeah.
I just think
it
they
could be-
also put too many fucking characters in this thing. Like it's a bloated movie in general. They got Mr. Terrific
That-
and Guy Gardner and all this crap. And
That
it's
is
this guy's
the-
first movie.
That's the James Gunn effect. Like he
Yeah.
cannot do like single character movies. It's got
That
to be
man,
a team up.
that man
It's got
really fruits my fucking loops. Let me tell you, it's I
to.
have no words.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely like at his best, he is a good filmmaker and he can really hit home
Mhm.
run. But his style is very specific and it doesn't fit with every genre. And I'm not convinced he's the right guy to do a Superman film.
I think a lot of us have felt the same thing about James Gunn, specifically when it comes to tackling a character like Superman. Can it work for quirky team-up movies? We've seen it work spectacularly for quirky team-up movies. But is it going to work with Superman? And yeah, it's bloated. There's a lot of characters. You're throwing somebody into a world who he's established as Superman. There's these other characters that he doesn't work with, that he already has beef with. There's a lot riding on this, being big for them. They've spent a fuck ton of money on this movie, and there's nothing. There's a little highlights, here or there with, oh, that's cool, he saved a guy. Okay, that's a good shot, but there's nothing that gets me excited to watch this Superman movie at all.
Yeah.
The only time I felt something was when the John Williams theme tune kicked in.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, like it's referencing a movie from the fucking 1970s. Like that's the only thing that made me feel emotion right there.
I think it would have been better just not to have released this trailer at all.
Oof.
They've
The
got to do
CGI
it.
also
They've
looks
got to.
unfinished to me. I mean, that shot where he's doing the eyes up here thing, that dog
Oh.
irritates the shit out of me. I'm telling you. But it just like to me, I feel like
My
his head
dogs
is
would
out of
eat that
place on
dog.
his body or something. He just looks wrong. I will admit it's so funny because in the reaction video I did, I'm bitching about it the whole time, but at the end when he's snuggling the dog, I was like, all right, that's fucking cute.
I mean, James Gunn likes animals, like he said many times. Like
I'm literally working with my dog asleep on my lap right now, so I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll take it.
I mean, I'll admit I'm a sucker for animals. I love dogs. I love cats. Nah, I like dogs more, but cats are okay. So I always liked the dog in Superman. This isn't quite the dog I was imagining.
No,
but
he's not Crypto the super dog. I literally, they would put that shit on at 2 a.m. and I was supposed to be asleep and the theme song for Crypto would start. I'm like, let's go. I'm staying up till 3. This is crazy.
It just feels like a tough one to make work because it's like I genuinely wasn't too aware of Crypto from the comics. I didn't know he was a thing. And so, okay, like that's apparently part of Superman lore. How do you have a superpowered dog with a cape around it and like still have a movie that you can really take seriously and you're supposed to get super invested in it?
The funny thing is we're spending so much time talking about the dog.
I'm sorry, that's my fault. That's actively my fault. I'm sorry.
It's tough because who knows how big of a part this dog's actually going to be in the movie itself. But the thing is, they have made it a huge part of the marketing. And I get it. Dogs are cute. People love dogs. Women specifically will go gaga over a random cute dog or animal or whatever. So these women gushing over Baby Yoda, whatever the hell.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So, and I get that. But then we realize, oh, well, the reason is because look at my dog that I have. And I really wanted to put my dog in this because of these reasons. And it's like, I don't really care about what your life experiences are, James Gunn. I care about fucking Superman. In the same way that now we know we have this these online trolls that are actually monkeys working for Lex Luthor, because Lex Luthor isn't smart enough to have a fucking AI program that can be a troll farm for him. So he has to have interdimensional monkeys that are his troll farm that are, starting these hashtags to get, to destroy Superman's reputation.
Oh my God.
And you start thinking about, okay, what is this coming from James Gunn, or is it just kind of natural that that's the way the story happened? And we end up talking about all these different things, and I think it's very distracting, and that's a reason why people are worried about this movie.
There's so many components at this point, from marketing and from maybe leaks, that I don't have any faith in what we're about to see with whatever this is. Completely open to waiting and seeing what it ends up being as a cohesive whole of a story. But as was what Ryan just mentioned as well, some other things like, and I have lost faith in James Gunn significantly since what I would consider like his peak being something like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just been more and more downhill. I have not, and all the concerns about whether or not he's capable of doing something like this, and then seeing all of his signatures all over it, it's like, I'm not excited. But give it a shot, right?
Yeah, I'll definitely go see it. And I have a soft spot for the Christopher Reeves movies, and I love those so much, in the John Williams music. So I guess I will always give Superman a try. So I'll just have to see how it goes. But if this is too much about social media and social reactions to superheroes, I don't know if I can take it.
It's Superman for the modern audience. That's also why his suit looks like it's from fucking Party City.
I feel like we're taking this one to the dentist right now.
I know, yeah. It's kind of
like
freaky when you get like a close up of someone's mouth.
That is the one thing. I think Nicholas Hoult is a fantastic fucking actor.
He is.
And he's definitely flavor of the month these days. Like,
and I think that if with the right story, he could be a great Lex Luthor. The things we've heard so far about this Lex Luthor and some of the story leaks, don't know if I'm super keen on those things, but that's one thing that I'll be like, I hope we get a great Lex Luthor from Nicholas Hoult. But
that would be nice.
That's the one thing that I think could be really good. Like, I think he's a fantastic actor, and I have faith in him doing Lex Luthor if the script is good, which it probably won't be. So I guess
it's a very young Lex Luthor. Interestingly, comparing to like Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey and stuff. Oh, let's not talk about Jesse Eisenberg.
Let's.
Oh my God,
he wasn't Lex Luthor. He was just a cosplayer.
He was just Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, exactly. It was weird as well, like that scene where like the fucking hands go over his shoulders. That's like straight out of a horror movie. I'm see if I can bring it back. It's just like,
that's more like the Addams Family with Thing.
Yeah. Oh well. But yeah, Superman. Oh right, there's the kaiju.
Oh my God, that looks so fake.
It looks like an axolotl because it's got the little things
got a
on
weird look about it. Yeah.
It's
Bella
almost
Ramsey
cute.
playing it.
I still, Jesus Christ!
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Can't
I need to
have
stop
shit in
this. No, I need to
Detroit, my
stop. I need to stop this. I need to stop it. Can't help myself. Yeah. Anyway, it's nice
I
to see
did
Nathan
like
Fillion
this
doing
little
stuff.
Guy Gardner sequence with the hand here.
I do love Nathan Fillion. I've always liked him since Serenity.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing and everything. So
seeing him do stuff,
Firefly.
it warms my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just take that down right there. Okay, I'm just trying to keep on top of the super chats here. There was one here that came in from Skillsthier. Says, it's my 41st birthday today, and I wanted to thank the bar, EFAP, Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, and all the reviewers I watched that saved me money from bad media. As a normie that just wants to be entertained, when can I be excited for releases these days? I don't know.
Go watch
Mobland.
Go watch Mobland. It is the best show on TV.
It's a good show.
Yeah. It's really
good.
Happy
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, man. Yeah, Erin, you could probably tell us, is Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, is it worth watching? Because you've seen it.
I have seen it.
Before Erin gets into it, I actually do have to take off a little bit early. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ryan, God damn it.
Because Mission Impossible is one of my favorite franchises, and I hope it's not a total piece of trash way to end it. So I love Tom Cruise.
Well, if you like action sequences, if you like, the Tom Cruise action movies, it'll be fine. If you don't,
Good.
Wait a
Don't
minute.
tell me anything else. Don't make me hate it. Don't.
This
Yeah.
Mission
Alright.
Impossible has action sequences in it. That's crazy.
I hope so.
Changes up the
Yeah.
formula a little bit.
surprise.
Thanks for
I'll tell
having
you
me,
what.
guys. I
I
appreciate
will let
it.
you. I will let Ryan go. But yeah, thank you for coming in, man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys soon.
All right, thanks,
See you,
buddy.
dude.
Bye.
Yeah, obviously we don't want to spoil it for our viewers here because we haven't had a chance
Yeah.
to see it yet. But if you were to give like an overall impression of the movie, what would be your take on it?
I think that, if you like the franchise, you'll like the movie. I don't think I came to the movie as in the same way that other people will, because I am more of an expert in AI than the average person. So what they did with the AI villain at the end did not work for me at all. But that doesn't mean it wasn't exciting. It doesn't mean it wasn't thrilling. It doesn't mean that I didn't walk out of the movie unable to like walk a straight line, because there was so much death defying action and scenes that just would sweep you away. But the story didn't quite go where I was wanting it to go. But it still was satisfying to other reviewers in the theater. So I think you're going to get a mixed message from different people depending on what they wanted out of that film.
I mean, if you had to compare it to Dead Reckoning, is it better or worse than that?
It was worse.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
God.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Well, that film is doomed, considering it's already gotten mixed reception from test screenings, from what I've heard, and initial reviews. The idea that most people seem to be agreeing it's worse than Dead Reckoning. The idea that it's got an enormous bloated budget. Like, this is a sad ending for Mission Impossible by the looks of things.
Yeah.
What's sad is it didn't need to go that way. Like, there are some terrific movies that have great AI villains. I mean, or even series. Just look at Person of Interest. What a wonderful series about an AI entity that they could have seen. How do you pull this off? How do you tie it up at the end to make it make sense? They did not do that. And I could guarantee you any person in the AI industry would have taken a call from Tom Cruise to help him figure out how to wrap that up in a way that would have made sense.
Yeah. Damn, man. That's made me sad now.
Yeah.
Well, I will.
Sorry. We're bringing you down today, guys. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, like I'd rather get your honest opinion on it. If it's crap, it's crap, Paul Connolly says, Drinker, have you seen the play The Shark is Broken? It stars and was written by Robert Shaw's son, Ian, and is about the tension between the three lead actors on the production of Jaws. I just saw it and highly recommend it. I haven't seen it myself. I had definitely heard about it. It's, apparently meant to be great. And, the problems that they had making that movie are legendary.
Legendary.
Especially with all the sharks eating people. That must have made things.
Indeed, yeah. Well, when they worked, so I think they broke down quite a bit. But Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw fucking hated each other, and looked at every opportunity to like undermine each other and screw things up. So apparently it led to like a fist fight a couple of times, which is pretty cool. And Robert Shaw delivered his Minneapolis speech drunk. When he did that great monologue about like the ship sinking and the sharks eating his crewmates, he insisted on having a drink before he did it. So I heartily toast him on that one.
Isn't that called method acting?
Mm. Well, he was a notorious drunkard. I mean, I think every actor back in that era just was. This was the sort of decade of like Richard Harris and Richard Burton and stuff, and like, that's just what they did. Can't help but get involved in it. The only other thing I was going to cover was Ironheart. You guys, are you excited for Ironheart? You saw the trailer. It looks bitchin'.
I just don't understand what the point is. Like who asked for another Iron this to me? And then so real quick, I'll just say that I felt like the trailer was a huge nothing burger, which just represents exactly what the show is going to be, because I didn't even find anything in the trailer to piss me off enough to rant about it. Like, it's more bland superhero fucking drivel. the entire purpose for them making this is to justify her place in the new Avengers because or the young Avengers or whatever, because they haven't done enough with her. You know, it's more I'm up and coming, people don't believe in me. And I also don't understand the whole I'm gonna build something iconic by copying somebody else's design and making the same shit. Like Iron Man existed. That's the whole thing, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
cosplay people all the time, and I don't go, yeah, I'm going to make something iconic. Sephiroth existed for 30 years before I built the wing, bro. It's fine. Like,
I think in a
Yeah.
way the behind the scenes like featurette that they released just before the trailer was more revealing than the trailer itself, because like all of that is about saying, oh, Riri Williams is her own character, she's not just a cheap knockoff of Tony Stark, trust me, bro. And like, you know, everyone in the production is saying the exact same thing. It's like they've been given talking points almost, you know, who would imagine that? And it's like you're exposing your insecurities on this one. It's like you're telling people, you know, the perception of this character is that she is just a cheap replacement for Tony Stark, just riding his coattails. And you're trying to argue against it, but by acknowledging it, you're just telling people, yeah, we know exactly what she is. And I don't know, man. It's just like it's self-defeating ultimately. It would be better to just not talk about it and just concentrate on actually telling a good story with this character. But there isn't one. As far as I know.
What's really sad is MIT is I am biased, granted. I work at MIT. But MIT is an amazing location for creative people who are into technology and want to do new things. That line about I want to do new things, and then she builds like the same thing. That is so not MIT. You know what I mean? Like that's not what an MIT kid would do.
Just like reinventing the wheel.
Right. Like I'm gonna make a new wheel. It's gonna be even rounder.
Yeah.
Also, did anybody know this is such a deep cut Marvel fucking dork reference. The guy who works at MIT is the same guy who worked at MIT in like Civil War.
Yes,
that he walks up to Tony talking about a self-cooking hot dog or whatever. He's like, "Oh, there's a cooker embedded in the meat shaft." I've never forgotten those words in that order. And he's the same guy.
I only know that because I was like reading the fucking IMDb page for it, and it's like, yeah, this guy that was in Civil War is also in this, as if that's some big news fucking. Oh wow, I can't believe you got that guy back again.
He's back.
This middle-aged bald guy, he's back. Yay!
We love middle-aged bald guy number 7. We love him.
He's in Civil War because it's the Russos who cast a handful of cameos from Community. He's Dean Pelton. He's honestly one of the better characters from Community. Like he's funny as fuck in that, but obviously doesn't get to do much in Marvel because no actor gets to do much in Marvel.
Yeah, I love how they keep hammering home this point as well that Riri is a genius. She is the smartest motherfucker on the planet. Because like I think I'll unmute it.
Well, there's a little happy face there to make us happy for her. I just don't buy any of this scene.
Here it goes.
I also hadn't thought about it, but isn't she creating a spark in a thing full of gas? That doesn't.
Yeah, but it's just like toxic gas. It's not like ignitable gas.
Yeah, but who knows,
Jay,
right?
It won't catch on fire.
All right, whatever. It just hit me.
Did you just bite a live wire?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
You can do that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, when you're I don't know, when you're fucking like a girl boss, you just do anything. Like
I bite live wires all the time. In fact, that's why I'm like this. People keep asking. That's what happened.
I love just licking those D-cell batteries. You know, it just like, gives me that jolt I need to get started.
I ate a Tide Pod for lunch.
Riri Williams was a genius.
Yeah,
I just want to shoot myself already. Like, it's all the hallmarks. You have to tell me over and over again how amazing she is. It's like, seriously, how do you fall for this every single fucking time? It's so boring.
How many teenage girls that are like tech proteges that are like have like 5,000 IQs do we have in
Can we
Marvel
have
now?
a girl who's not particularly special.
I want someone that's dumb as fuck, but like they've got a good heart or something.
I wish
like,
they just
and
write
ultimately-
me into Marvel. You know, like I'm like
You're too
halfway
smart.
Like,
well-meaning.
what's your
I
special
talk a
power?
lot
I
of
don't know, I
shit,
could
and that's the only
cosplay
thing
as
I do.
things.
Like I don't know. I make everybody's costumes. That's my whole thing. And I
turn red.
complain.
But that
I
you say
complain.
that as a joke, but that's like ironically like more interesting than what we have here. It's like something different.
It's a
Yeah.
fantastic talent. You know, they need their costumes. Just don't. Yeah.
Also,
Riri
great
has-
soundtrack. Really
They
love
have
it.
to have hip hop in there because
Dude, she's got her own
It's
fucking
diverse.
TV show. War Machine has just been completely forgotten. Nobody
Yeah, and we're
cares.
never getting
everyone in
the
the
Armor
comment-
Wars movie, by
Yeah,
the
I
way.
fucking
That's
believe
never
it.
gonna
Everyone
fucking
wants Armor
happen.
Wars.
Stupid.
thing is, Rhodey is such a more interesting
Dude, this is
character than
Iron
her.
Man
Like,
1.
yeah,
How the fuck is this happening? It's just, I would say that like this is something that they obviously want to get rid of. We know this, like meta information wise. It's just what a stupid decision that we now have to just like endure.
Is
The-
it because they have contracts? Like, are we seeing like a house cleaning of contracts? Like, we need to get these 5 people into 3 different films. Let's just pack those films with
The-
people so we can clean out the contract box.
what I've heard about this is like they shot this, they commissioned it 5 years ago, right? And they actually shot it and had it completed 3 years ago, right? And this was very much during the diversity and inclusion era of Marvel, where they thought they could do no wrong, and they decided like they were just going to replace all these legacy characters with more, acceptable alternatives for a modern audience, right? And they thought they could do that. Obviously, the tides have turned, the winds have shifted, all that sort of thing in the interim, and this show is like a product of a different era now. They knew it was fucking outdated, and they knew it was going to be a horrible disaster, and they've been looking for ways to try and shit can it for the past several years.
I mean, they did nerf her somewhat. It's not like she made an Iron Man suit in the elevator, which is half of what I'd expect at this point. Box
I
of
mean,
scraps, buddy.
Sure, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
And they've been looking for reasons to cancel it. They couldn't think of it because like there's contracts with the actors, and like you would have to pay so many penalties. It's probably financially better to just release it. So they're going to shit it out as quickly
Right.
as possible.
Because-
You're gonna
An
there's 3
elevator-
episodes that are going to get released all at once.
An elevator suit would be pretty funny, though. Elevator.
It would
woman.
be.
She can go to any floor.
I don't know. Sometimes that sounds really convenient to me, you know, once you're like having to go up the flights, but
I mean, so
I just.
yeah, she wants to build something iconic. Wait, I need to bring this up actually.
Important.
Just
Iconic.
It's
I
so
love that she
cheap.
says that immediately after holding up a faceplate that looks just like Tony Stark's. Like that's what kills me. Is like, why are we placing so much emphasis on how original this person is when they're literally like the descendant of this legacy thing? You made Iron Man, you killed Iron Man. Now we have Ironheart so that we have somebody flying around in a metal suit. It's not original. And this person is literally copying this other guy. So what is the point?
And you're copying something that he did 20 years earlier.
With a box
are you
of scraps
accomplishing?
in a cave,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah, exactly.
The
Jeff Bridges said
regular
it best.
scientists in a full-fledged like lab couldn't recreate because it's the perfect storm of Tony Stark plus his engineering plus all of the materials.
Well-
You know,
Whatever. The hallmark for the Iron Man suit was always the arc reactor as well. That was the thing that
Yeah.
people couldn't duplicate. So, like, does she
Mhm.
have an arc reactor for her suit, or is it just powered by fucking diversity or something? I don't know.
powered by pure meta. She can just do whatever she needs to do.
It's powered by girl power. Okay, more.
And then I just love her
Don't insult it.
commentary of like, oh, you know, she's remarkable. Tony Stark was a bajillionaire. He wasn't a bajillionaire in that fucking cave with guns pointed at him when he built the first Iron Man suit. Like,
Yeah.
why is the move always to discredit the guy who came before you? I
think
feel
as
like I
well-
feel like that's not girl boss shit. Girl boss shit is going like, the guy who was before me was awesome. I'm gonna live up to his legacy. I'm gonna do something good. And this is always like, no, fuck that guy. I'm gonna be even better than him. I'm like, I don't think that's possible for you, man. Like,
Yeah, or fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He was never that great in the first place. I'm going to show you how it's properly
humility
done.
is so far outside of the girl boss logic when arguably I would say eating a slice of humble pie is probably one of the more girl bossy things you could do, is admit, that somebody else that came before you was also great.
Well, imagine
Right.
how much more we would empathize with Riri Williams, right? If she dreamed about equaling Tony Stark, and so throughout the show, you see her trying and failing.
Like living
also-
up to his
yeah, like
legacy.
she can't solve the engineering problems or whatever, and like she kind of gets she has problems in her day-to-day life. Maybe she gets picked on or something. And she tries to fight back, thinking that she's going to be a hero like Tony was, and she gets her ass beat. You'd really empathize with her then. You really want her to succeed. But instead,
Yeah.
it's like, nah, they're not going to do that. Like, she's just going to be inventing shit left, right, and center and just be amazing. Of course she is. And it's
Yeah.
like such a wasted opportunity.
I mean, you do want, like, some of these heroes need to fail a little bit. They need to have that moment of character growth. They need to have some humility. They need to see the path forward, and they need to take us with them. And when they come walking in right from the start, like, they're gonna just own this character or own this event or own this challenge. It really undermines the whole point of these movies, where they're supposed to bring the audience with them, and not them just showing off in front of the audience, and that just doesn't work. Doesn't work anymore. don't know
I
that
go
it ever
back
did.
to I think it was Disparu who said this originally, like, where in movies or TV shows like this, there are no longer heroic characters or heroic actions.
Yeah.
There's heroic identities.
Yeah.
And so, like, Riri Williams is just a hero because of like how she was born, effectively, and that's what the show wants you to empathize with, not like what she does in the course of the show, not the struggles that she has, just what she looks like or like what she was born with. And it's so superficial and so weak. It's not how you identify with characters.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, they've basically abandoned, the hero's journey, which I think is like a terrible thing to do, because if you look at historically the hero's journey, before we were able to pass knowledge between civilizations, you can go back and look at these origin stories of humanity or whatever, and these old tales from different cultures, and find evidence of the hero's journey, the same steps and pillars of the hero's journey are reflected around the world from before we were sharing ideas. And so realistically, it's this intrinsic thing of the reluctant hero who learns and develops and builds. And so it's almost like, as humans, we have this inherent want to be great, but it's also this inherent desire to build that greatness for ourselves. And now, instead of building that greatness, we have people that are like, well, it was inside you all along. You're never
Right.
wrong. You never had to get your ass kicked. You never learned anything from getting your ass kicked, because the people around you that may have done you wrong, they just sucked. They didn't get how awesome you were. It's like this sense of entitlement and a lack of wanting to persevere and do anything for yourself that has become so prevalent in society and then is reflected in Hollywood, that it makes it like none of these characters are interesting for that reason.
Right. Like, they deserve their greatness.
Yeah.
You all deserve a trophy. Here's your greatness.
Yeah, you're all special.
Yeah, if everybody's special, no one is. So somebody's gonna have to stop.
Yeah, I think as well, like this show is meant to merge like the technology aspect of like the Iron Man suit with magic. Am I right in saying that? Like, the Hood character is like a magician sort of character, kind of on the same sort of level as Doctor Strange.
I don't know.
That's what I understand, like, having read the synopsis of this, where I'm just like, how the fuck do you merge these two things together into a show? Yeah, like, as people said, like, give us Armor Wars. But if you're going to take a bunch of people in like Iron Man suits, at least do something cool with it, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, his hood is a demon giving power, so it's like possessed him. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah,
So it's his Green
Alright.
Goblin mask, basically. This is getting fun.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it's wild, man. I bet they cannot wait to get this one over with. Well,
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to take the pill and swallow it, and that's what this is. They need to take the medicine and get it out.
Yeah, and
They
shit
just
it
have
out.
to get it out.
This is like a, oh my god, what do you call it when they, is it a colonic? Yeah, it's like a, this is
Colonic
their enema.
irrigation.
It's an enema.
Yeah. It's a Marvel enema. That's, yeah, I don't think that's something that any of us need. But yeah, there you go. There's Ironheart.
I
Tell
think
you
they
what.
just need to do a restart, like sweep it clean, give everybody a break for a couple of years, come back with some new characters, some new stories, some new writers. We need a break. We need a break.
I think the next two Avengers movies are going to do that. That's going to lead into a reboot of the whole franchise, which, I mean, whether it'll fix it, I don't know. If you've still got the same writers behind it, like, it's not going to get any better. But they need a break. They need some
Two
time off.
Avengers movies full of key jangling might eventually get us back to some sane point, but
Yeah.
We need to jangle harder, damn it.
look, remember this guy from this other movie? Buy the merchandise or we'll fucking shoot, you know?
Yeah. Let me finish up by doing a few super chats here while we're all on board. Clank I'm a Tank says, I would have loved to see Luthen put on the Sith armor. Would you have loved that, you guys?
No.
Don't think so.
Oh,
No.
Stop trying to make Luthen a Jedi or a Sith, I beg you. Please let him be normal.
But Mauler, that
He
would
was
be
just a
that would
guy.
be sick, bro.
Yeah.
Still the Buster says, hail to Drinker and the whole panel. Would you have enjoyed The Last of Us Season 2 if Neil changed it to a musical and the role of Ellie was played by Awkwafina? Yes, weirdly. I can see that working. If one thing Awkwafina is good at is singing. We learned that from The Little Mermaid. So yeah, give us more of that. Thank you.
We did. That was great.
Griffnizzle says, didn't bring his ego. This is the same dude that spent the first 3 episodes masturbating to a Gucci wedding and Raven rock, paper, scissors rebels. Don't pretend there wasn't fart sniffing.
Well, I guess that was for Aaron then, because you were mentioning that he didn't feel like he brought his ego to Andor, but a lot of
Yeah.
I mean, the rave scene, I could have done without that. Watching
I mean,
a
I just
45-year-old
don't
woman
think-
dancing to rave music was a choice. It was definitely a choice.
It was definitely a glimpse into my future, I'll be honest with you.
I don't know who hasn't been to a wedding where the middle-aged woman has had a few extra glasses of wine and is making a scene in the middle of the dance
It's usually
floor.
to Beyonce or Taylor Swift, though, man. Like, it's different. Sean Ford says, last week, episodes 141. Christ, this is getting really specific. At 1 minute and 16, 1 hour and 16 minutes, Despot said, has the audience been moronified for liking Thunderbolts? Drinker agreed, bad idea calling your listeners morons. Well, I'm call a spade, man. I'm just saying, like, Thunderbolts was a pretty shit movie. It's
Also,
fine to
don't
enjoy it,
pretend-
but let's not be under any illusions that it's fucking like high art or anything.
And don't pretend, Super Chatter, that you've never made fun of anybody for enjoying something, like the sequels, for example. You obviously have. You must have. Everyone has. It's like nobody's above saying, like, oh, you like that? All right, well, yeah, best of luck. You know, it's just a matter of Thunderbolts was fucking awful. A lot of people were like, nah, it's the MCU is back, baby. And it's like, the fuck are you talking about? No,
Yeah,
it's
what
not.
is this fucking Stockholm syndrome that people are suffering from with Marvel, where they're desperate to have anything that, like, if it's not complete garbage that makes you want to murder yourself, then, like, oh, it's great. Like, it's saved now. You can't criticize it. Like, the Thunderbolts was not a good movie. I think it's okay to admit that.
Yeah, and if
was
Trigger
it
had said,
better
"I
than, like,
hate-"
what we've had recently? Sure, but it's still not good.
It's not like Despot or Drinker said, specifically, my fans are stupid and I hate them. It's not like that's happening.
And it's okay not to like everything also. Like, we don't have to like Marvel movies just because they make them. Just like we don't have to like Star Wars just because they make it. Although we really do want to like Star Wars.
Well, Andor
When
should be
possible.
doubly grateful that we did like it, because we
Mhm.
definitely do not have to like it
Should be
after what
grateful.
we've been through for the past 10 years. Zeddy Boy says the curse of season 2 has been broken. Yes, it has. I thought this was going to be another Last of Us, so they did well there. Jammed Bug 7:12 and watching Rogue One right after felt like a funeral to Star Wars. I think we covered this one actually just earlier. It's not likely we're going to be getting something this good for a very long time, indeed. Senior Bones says Star Wars is such a dead franchise that even with the fun drinker Mauler and Ryan, the convo is boring me to death. I'm beyond apathy for Star Wars. Sorry, guys. Damn, even our scintillating banter couldn't get you on board with this. I don't know what to tell you, man. Andreas Nielsen says, isn't it odd that Star Wars fans who have been labeled sexist and racist for not liking certain characters? Oh, yeah, I haven't had a problem with Clea or Bix. Yeah, we did that one as well. Sorry, I'm going over my old ground here. Gasmask Joe says, the biggest problem with Andor is the fact that it leads into Rogue One. For that movie has multiple problems, one of which is where the bottom spies that Mon Mothma mentioned. Well, they were doing their own thing. Like they don't come into play until Return of the Jedi. So
I was going to say the Bothan spies. That's not Scarif. That's the second Death Star stuff.
So that's okay. Ben of the West says, of course, Luthen was a non-conformist. Gilroy really hammered the subordinates being better. Cyril and Sergeant here and the Sergeant, Draven, Organa, and Andor. Gilroy really pushing the class / status as an issue. Which is an interesting thing to touch upon, actually. The idea about the sort of non-commissioned officers and like the subordinates are often like more competent and they've got more street smarts than the sort of officers commanding them.
That's a very corporate thing. Like the Peter principle, you rise to the level of your incompetence. And I did see that in Andor, where they really did have people rise to the level of their incompetence. And then they got killed. But, you know.
Yeah. Silly Sailor says, what happened to Cassian's sister? The whole plot that started the whole thing was completely forgotten about.
Or it was addressed and people don't remember. Where it's specifically it's a need he's always had to find a sister, but that he never came to terms with the fact that she's never going to be found. That's what Marva tries to tell him, and it's supposed to act as a foundation for Andor that he's always got this hole in his life where it involves people, you know, either dying or leaving, and he tries to stop it. It's supposed to be part of the drive he has for all the different things he does in the seasons.
Admit it, Mauler, Bix was actually his sister.
Oh, God.
Somehow that's even worse than the theory that I've seen where people are like, Dedra was his sister. Oh my God, it's like doesn't make any sense at all. What do you mean?
Trek Anderson says Lagret does the bare minimum and still wins the ISB game. Anyway, moving on. Michael D says, my only real criticism is that regardless of their feelings towards Luthen, they had to know that he could not have allowed Luthen or Clea to be captured or they would have all been finished.
It's true.
Pretty much.
Yeah, definitely.
Dr. Pelican, can't believe that Palpatine was referenced by K2. Such blatant fan service. We should have known that Gilroy had no restraint. Should have taken lessons from Dave Filoni.
Well, did you see that? He was asked in an interview, why didn't he bring in Palpatine and Vader? And he said, I would have if I needed them.
Yeah.
What a novel concept.
That's a baller move right there.
If you'd ask Filoni, he'd be like, I need them all the time. Like,
Yeah.
There's no time where I don't need them.
I also love that the Emperor was like, I don't need to show up to that Senate hearing. You guys go ahead. Like, if Palpatine had been there, Mon Mothma would have never made it out of that. She would have not had a chance at all.
Could you imagine Dave Filoni like directing that scene? He would have had Palpatine there like shooting force lightning at Mon Mothma and she would have had to dodge it, and then Ahsoka would have showed up and like fought him with a lightsaber. And yeah,
literally everybody would have been there. Kit Fisto
people.
makes a surprise appearance.
They were disappointed that Luther didn't pull out a lightsaber to like kill Dedra in the fight. I was like, what the fuck?
I hate
show
that
you
Glup
watching?
Shido never got name dropped.
Here we go. Yapatron says, hot take, and this is fucking nuclear hot. Andor was a lame show with little to no payoffs. Jin never mentioned. Show should have been called Mon Mothma because the only character to benefit and outlive everyone all the way to Return of the Jedi.
So my top three for the season were, and this is definitely like a personal thing, would be Luthen, then Cyril, then Partagaz. I thought their stories were all fantastic and great additions to the Star Wars canon, as far as I'm concerned. So it's funny they'd be like, because I think Mon's story is really good as well, but the fact that she's not even in my top 3, like when apparently the whole show's about her, is like, huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Mr. Taco Boutique says R1 would have been better if Tony was writing from the start. So Rogue One.
Oh yeah, because he like tried to fix up what he was given, right? Because it was Gareth Edwards' project, and it moved to him near the end. Yeah,
and I think you can kind of tell from a lot of it, like he wasn't fully in control of that one. Like it doesn't have a lot of his hallmarks in it. It's definitely a lot dumber than Andor was. A lot more action heavy. So yeah. Starbug Smeg says the Clea and Luthen arc was my favorite in all of these 3. I really felt the tension of Clea holding out in the safe house. The limited exposure to Luthen's history works perfectly for his character, in my opinion. I think that's fair.
I loved it, and I also loved he'd essentially committed to we just need to survive, and her like absolute fucking hatred and fury of having lost her, her whole civilization, more than likely, not just her family.
Yeah.
Kept her going, and then that last scene they have before somewhat the end of the episode is basically like asking her, you need to commit at this point. And when she said you're afraid, and he's like, I'm afraid of like if you accept this path, it's gonna basically destroy you. Like, and I don't know that I want to do that to you. It's the two of them together that generate this whole path. Like her hatred plus his know-how, his familiarity and experience, and the two of them made a very effective team. And I just like the respect that's given that they're the ones that create that really early and small version of the rebellion that eventually blossoms in all the way up into the OT.
It is neat indeed. What's the next one here? Dork Ritual says the rebel leaders. Oh no, we got that one as well. Actually, that was covered earlier. Filthy Casual says Bix's. Oh, I did that one too. Sorry. Jokovo Butts says no, Andor is not Star Wars because it's good.
Yeah, well.
Radio Spec says if Empire is 9.5 out of 10, New Hope is a 9, and Return of the Jedi is 8 or whatever. What Star Wars project, show, or movie since the OT is the best, and how close does it rank? Is Andor a 7 to Return of the Jedi's 8, or what do you think? Cheers. That was an oddly specific way of phrasing it, but sure. Andor is probably the best thing that we've had since the OT in terms of writing quality.
Yeah.
It's better than Rogue One. It's better than the prequels. It's better than easily everything Disney have made. So, yeah.
Griff Nizzle says Black Fleet Crisis was practically Tom Clancy books in Star Wars. They were rad. Sure. I mean, I know fuck all about the expanded universe, but I'll take your word for that one. The Imperial Brick says Rogue One and Andor are the only Disney Star Wars projects that I genuinely love. They're not canon to me, but they're great. Why aren't they canon?
I mean,
because they were made by Disney.
It's a principle that I don't blame people for. As Ryan said, what they did is unforgivable to Star Wars. So
Ali Mac says Andor is a soap opera show in the Star Wars universe. Is it though? Like, does it rely on cheap melodrama like a soap?
I've never seen a soap opera that good.
Yeah. Deval says, allow for lower budget, more experimental Star Wars projects, 50 to 70 million movies or series. You could hit gold and more likely to make your money back. Yes, sure, absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly what they should be doing. They never will, but it'd be nice to think about it. Doomchild says, so should people watch Andor first or Rogue One? I mean, if you're coming at it fresh, Andor.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I obviously feel like that. I don't know, because I feel like, okay, timeline wise, I think it might be good, and that way you'd get to care about Cassian. But I also feel like Andor is a little more heady and drama filled and not quite as action packed, and I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's less intelligent because it was a movie and it needed to be a blockbuster. So I feel like if I watched Andor and then I watched Rogue One, I might be disappointed. So I feel like I would just keep the Rogue One, then Andor type of thing.
Before Andor came out, a lot of people did say the third act of Rogue One is the strongest part, and it has some stuff in there that's like genuinely worthwhile. I think that's still the case post Andor, and I think I
Yeah.
prefer that existing than nothing for the sort of speak ending of the story of Andor, like the the final act. It's that huge sacrifice, right? Because again, having rewatched it is kind of neat the sequence of events being both in space, on the ground, and the X-wings all over the planet. Basically, every single person at every level dies completing their mission, and it's all to get that the signal to the ship to then get the card to Leia. Like that. That's really cool. I think there's wonkiness to it, of course, but. And I think, hey, watching more K2SO and their relationship as much as you get a little of it in those episodes, that's going to help too when you get to Andor. Because, man, what an entertaining droid!
He's so good.
He is pretty good. I
He
just like
is.
this one as well. Why did the ISB have to wear parachute pants? It's really hard to take a villain dressed as MC Hammer seriously. I mean,
Those
I
were
think
part
you
of
can.
real military
I was about
uniforms
to say,
back
do
in
they
the
not
day.
know?
Yeah, you know the comparisons. It's obviously like the kind of Nazi style of like fucking whatever those weird flared pants were that they wore. I guess it's meant to make you look intimidating. I don't get it, but I guess it
The
worked for
early
them.
BBLs.
Yeah. I'll do a couple more and then finish up. Yeah, Melvin Deeply says, if space lesbians and cucked men are your thing, then it's Star Wars. You're too forgiving of all the shite in Andor. The bad outweighs the good. Damn.
Well,
That is brutal.
would flip
Don't
it
the
around.
space lesbians make like one appearance? How are we? Okay.
They're such a tiny component of this show.
There's way more heterosexual relationships in this show, like significantly. The ratio. would be
Woman's whole
staggering.
arc is I have to get back to my girlfriend the entire time.
Well,
like-
Bix and Andor, they got given the most time out of any
Yeah.
relationship in the whole show. The
It was
lesbians got
actually
one kiss.
I would have to say, like, the season 2 of Andor was probably the most romantic
Yeah.
Star Wars
Yeah.
I've seen, because you had real relationship between Bix and Cassian. And then, where you actually felt like they were in love, and more
Well,
so
they-
than in the prequels with,
Yeah, I agree.
them.
I mean, some of that comes down to like the quality of the performances and stuff, where
Well, because
we didn't have
I'm
the best.
sorry. No, hold on a second. The writing was the fucking problem.
Well, yeah,
Because
I
it
was
all-
about to say that as well.
Think about the following, and it took me so many years of online dating to figure it out. But that scene where Padme's talking about the beach and the sand, and like this woman that you find attractive is talking about her wet body swimming, and your reaction is, "I hate sand." How do you?
Yeah, like, Anakin doesn't have
You
the
gotta
whiz,
have some
okay?
dog shit taste in men to go like, yeah, I hate sand too. Yeah, you're so right. That
How
was,
dare
the right
you.
thing to say here.
How dare you have the shocking take that the prequels have bad dialogue? That's disgusting. How could you?
That's my whole point. Like, I'm not gonna blame the performance on that. It was literally the writing the whole time.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that was a really common take too, right? That Hayden is a bit wooden in the prequels, and that the dialogue is also like that's the common perspective on him. Exactly
Yeah.
what the problem is. Like, I would rather hit the dialogue before the acting, but
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you.
Right.
Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in with all this. But I was actually surprised that with Bix and Andor, they gave us the angle of her mental health, and his interest in protecting her from the whole world is actually ruining her. Like saying
Yeah.
that I'm not exposed to anything, I can't grow, I can't live. And I quite like the contrast of where they were on Mina Rao, I think was the planet, where it was like a colorful, happy, warm farm sort of thing, all the way over to the sterile cube where they just have to exist rather than live. That angle of it, the fact that she was constantly having to worry if he was dead by going on any given mission, but simultaneously encouraging him to keep doing it because of what the Empire meant to her, what they mean to each other. I was just like, yeah, this is like an actual relationship in Star Wars. It's been a long time since we've had that.
Right.
And a bit of complexity to it as well. So yeah, it's a nice little thing to have. Again, that's what a show like Andor does. It gives you adult relationships that are actually somewhat believable, as opposed to what George was going for, which is a very unique take on romantic relationships. I'll do one more and then finish up there. SC615 says, you're missing the point. Star Wars main canon is for all audiences. Just because fringe media explores things not for all audiences doesn't mean that main Star Wars canon /IP needs to follow. Well, I mean, I think it ultimately comes down to like how successful it is and how good the writing quality is. You know, I would rather have a show like Andor, which is well written, mature, and interesting, but perhaps it attracts a smaller audience than what we get with something like Ahsoka or Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is just, it makes me die inside.
Yeah,
You know,
on that point, if someone said, you know, between Gilroy, Filoni, Abrams, Johnson, Kennedy, it's like, which do you want to have the most influence over Star Wars? And then someone might say, like, why the hell are you restricting us to those options? It's like, that is our options.
Those
That
are
is
literally
what
the
we're dealing with.
options.
It's not preferable, but you know, yeah, Gilroy easily. If someone said like, you really think his style's good for like mainstream Star Wars, like, not necessarily, but I would way prefer it to all of the other shit that we have on the table.
I do like when a writer can write.
that is
you know?
nice. It is
It's nice when
it
they do their
happens.
jobs.
Yeah.
There's a couple of member chats here I was going to do as well before we stop. One here for you, Mauler. Where are you at in your journey through Star Trek?
Funny they asked this question. Only recently I was able to get back on because the person's become available again that I've been watching it with. So we just finished off season 2 of TOS, which was, I forget, is that, it ends with the Gary 7 episode, I think. And I can't remember if we've watched episode 1 of season 3 yet. I think we did, but the news is I'm back on the train, I think. So watching
Nice.
more as we go.
All aboard. Next one is Sly Jester. The funniest thing about Ironheart is the black lesbian couple at my job referring to it as that new Wakanda show. They also thought that G20 was amazing.
The new Wakanda show.
Well, you said G20 was amazing, man, in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, I did love it.
The Superman trailer looked awful. I mean, yeah, it didn't get started in the best way. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Space Whiskey, can't wait for August. Weapons and Nobody 2. Trailers looked intriguing and awesome. Why can't Marvel or DC be this exciting for once? Because they're not dealing with new properties, I think, and they're just played out. They have
Nobody
run out of steam.
they're clearly leaning more now into the funnier side of what Nobody was, which is fine with me. It looks like a really fun movie, which is nice to have.
Chris Dickelson, Joseph Stalin, also people's sexiest man alive, 1942. It was all about the tash, man. That's where his power is derived from.
Like Samson.
Yeah. David Gannon, I loved Andor, and I immediately rewatched Rogue One after. As I have paid for 1 month of Disney Plus, I'm also rewatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyone like that? I never really watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I couldn't
Apparently
get
it was
into
quite
it.
good, but... Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, it definitely had some ups and downs, but mostly I really liked it.
Good stuff. Snix says, Eric, Drinker, Mauler as the Soska sisters and Jay. Which are the saints and which are the sinners? Well,
Wait, am I Eric?
Well, this is regarding Saints and Sinners, which we probably should mention. We could probably do it at the end, though, I guess, if you want.
I'm so confused.
yeah. So, Mauler, you explain it.
Saints and Sinners is a new project being launched in the Rippaverse that involves a whole bunch of guest writers, including but not limited to myself and Drinker. We've both penned a short story, one each of 6, alongside, of course, stories from the Soskas, Eric, as your fabled heel versus babyface man, and Drunk 3PO will be Jay. Those are the 6 stories. It's in a big collection. We would love if you're interested in checking it out. It is my first technical foray into writing a story, as with so it's like an interesting way for us to get started. And the project is called Saints and Sinners. The idea being that our main characters are all going through something that very much relates to one of those 2 words. And this person's asking, I guess, how would you categorize the 6 writers, or I guess 7 in a way, into saints or sinners? I'm going to go with a sinner for myself, probably.
Yep. Well, what he said, basically, I think he covered it pretty effectively. But Saints and Sinners is available to pre-order through the Rippaverse website. If you want to take a look, if you're curious, you can find out more about it there. But it was a fun little thing to be part of. I quite enjoyed it. It's nice to get into like the comic book side of things as opposed to novel writing. It's a bit of a different pace of writing, but it's a cool thing to have taken part in. And they were like super accommodating when it came to working with their characters, their worlds. So very much appreciate that. So it was good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Let's see if there's any other member chats here. I think, let's see. Yeah, Grimnack says, should have called it Rise of the Rebellion. There you go. Yeah,
Sure,
that would have
yeah.
worked
That
fine. That would have worked just fine. Because it's absolutely an ensemble piece. Paul Stramby, the member stream was awesome. It was so cool to hear other members talk about projects that they have. Thank you to fellow channel members. Yeah, that was, I did, channel member stream last night. Got to hang with a lot of the Patreon people, the channel members, and just bring them in, chat to them directly. So it was a lot of fun. So thank you guys for joining me for that. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah. Rob or Ross, that's a nice Red Dwarf reference. Caitlin Dever was great and Justified, which you should really watch if you haven't already. I know, I mean, I'll add it to the list of 5,000 other things that I need to watch and review. Do my best. John Gets Gaming. This was the game you should have trimmed fat from, and instead they said, oh, let's make it 2 seasons, and decided to meander around with Ellie and Dina at an incredibly slow pace. I think that's a pretty good description, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Johnny's hashtag super shit.
Simple yet elegant.
Yeah. Get right to the point. I like that. And Kuhaku. Hail panel. It's a farce what the MCU has become. They should have iced it for 5 years after Endgame, worked on a plan, and then launched it with the X-Men and Fantastic Four. I know, but there's money to be made, and they're not going to stop.
There's money to be burned, more like.
Right.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that wasn't the plan, but that's what it's ended up being. So, yeah, well, they made their choice. But I'll stop there. That was all of the member chats and stuff. And I want to say thank you to my lovely panel for joining us this evening. It's been great to have you guys on, as always. So thank you for doing
having
this.
us.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who's come in for this. Thank you for everyone in chat and everyone who sent such wonderful super chats. We will, as always, answer the ones that we've missed tonight on our catch-up stream. And thank you to my mods for doing their usual awesome job of keeping everything working in chat. So appreciate you guys. But for now, that's all we got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.